All right, what's up, everybody? This is Austin with the next iteration of the Book of Austin Life of Detours podcast. I'm kind of fiddling with a different name for this because this is actually the first episode of kind of a more serious kind of type of episode that I'd like to get to, where I kind of sit down with people that are kind of running like their own businesses and things like that. People with like kind of a different look at like just a different look at business and everything like that, because like I have no idea what I'm talking about whenever it comes to any kind of different business. Like I told you guys, like I grew up in a town where like you either worked at the airport or at Walmart, so like I knew everything about that kind of a stuff, but like there's so many different kinds of businesses out here. Like I've thought about like leaving bartending like quite a few times, but then I look at it and I'm like, dude, I have no idea what kind of jobs are even out there, so that kind of a deal. But so I kind of want to learn from you, like just like the little things about like if you were to want to start a business, like there is like this kind of a way to do it, like not so much like a cookie cutter kind of a way, but like there's all these kinds of different ways to do it. And also like I just kind of want to Kristen absolutely loves you guys, like that she loves the awareness project, because like you guys have like a really good message and you guys are doing things. Like I think so where did the like name for the awareness project actually come from? Because like then it's super fitting. I think you say awareness to me every time we talk, so yeah.
That came about, I'd say 12 years ago. It just popped in my brain that we're just failing with awareness when it comes to human beings in general. I was kind of focusing on climate change at the time, and pollution and homelessness, and just kind of envisioning what's going to happen in the future, I guess. And I was doing disaster relief. So I really wanted to just start raising awareness about issues that people were just unfamiliar with, or they need to get familiar with. And so it kind of just popped into my brain, the awareness project, like that's what this is. It's kind of a project to teach awareness, and then it's stuck. And anybody that's been attached to it kind of figured out that it really just worked, you know? And I think that's kind of the first idea where it came from, was just this is an awareness project to teach people.
Just teach people the things that are kind of happening like in the background, like you kind of like live your everyday life. Like if you're on like the full mainstream kind of stuff, you won't hear anything about like the best ways to recycle and like reuse things.
It's just not as prevalent as it needs to be. But these are, like in my mind, since a little kid, it's been important. And that I knew it's just going to get worse. You could see it gradually. I was paying attention, and I think that's like, if we don't raise awareness about it, then we're screwed, like all of us, So the goal is just to create a project that raises awareness, and kind of just start dabbling with environmental and homelessness and other things, but just hitting on the important topics that people aren't really very familiar with or don't care about, because they don't think it impacts them. But I think that it's
kind of bringing awareness to the fact that it actually does and will in the future, for sure.
Exactly impacts you.
That's wild, dude. Yeah, that's why I think the name is so fitting. Like that's just awesome, because like there's so many people that don't even realize, like, well, I mean, I guess like they've probably heard it, but like a lot of things aren't really going that well, and it's like you can kind of look back at the things that we could have been doing differently. And like if we start doing that now, I mean, there's a chance. Like we're pretty far gone on like some things, but like there's things that you can do.
There's things you can do, for sure. But to your point, a lot of what could have been done should have been done within our lives and even our parents' lives. It's not that technology wasn't there, or some of the recycling habits of the past weren't already there. It's just kind of like bringing it back and start being such consumers and producers, but then focus on the making sure that we utilize what's already here on this planet, and repurposing and upcycling and all the stuff that you guys like.
So just continuously making more and more.
Kind of like what they used to do, before we were even born. How they used
like
to.
When they found out about plastic, dude, it was over.
And that's what I mean. Like, it's brilliant to a certain degree, but it also got so out of hand. And now it's become an absolute devastating effect on the planet when it comes to killing species and polluting our waterways and our soils, and ends up in the air, and microplastics in our blood. So you think about everything that's just happening, it's a very short amount of time that this has happened in the grand scheme of existence.
Oh, absolutely. Everything's going downhill super fast.
And it's a human thing. It's not a cyclical, natural thing. It's not a God thing. This is like a humans created this problem, and if we don't raise awareness about it, we won't solve it. We will just be swimming in it.
We'll just continue to deal with the what's called the symptoms, not the actual problem.
Right. And the repercussions of not acting.
Yeah.
It hits hard, especially the little ones, you know, like looking at the baby.
Yeah.
I just want to give everybody such congrats on their babies, but at the same time, I'm scared for the future.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure you are. And, you know, it's like the idea of what the kids are going to grow up into with climate change and pollution and the gap between the rich and the poor. These are all things that people are just so busy that they just don't pay attention to enough. And look where we are. And look what our kids are up against. And it's just kind of some bullshit, honestly.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's one thing Kristen said whenever we found out that, or like, so like about a year before, like we like had the baby, like we weren't planning on having a baby, but I told her like whenever we first got together, I was like, at some point I would like to, and she said that she'd never really wanted them, but that she would take that, you know, into account. But it was mainly because she didn't want to bring a kid and and have to fight all these battles that like we're like they're being left by our generation and the ones before and everything. So
yeah, it's scary to think about.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's scary to think about. That's why I try to raise awareness to the kids. You know, most importantly, I think the adults, the ones that created the problems, but then the little ones that are coming up, and we teach them the right way, they can save what's left, and the old people, they can be aware of their impact and hopefully support us in our missions to do that. You know, in the meantime too, and that's what we've been doing. Yeah, it's working.
There you go. Push it up into the future there.
Yeah, it's working, man.
Nice. So I guess now we should take a step back and actually do some introductions here. So this is Ryan and Stanley from the Awareness Project. As we just went through, like we figured out where the name came from and kind of just, I would say, like a portion of your message, like probably one of the bigger portions of it, of course. You guys have so many things going on over here. Like every time I come over here, you guys are working on a new project, which is really awesome. So.
Yeah, we're involved in a lot of stuff, but there's a lot of issues.
Right.
Too, so.
I think that's what we're, you know, it's not that we discovered it, but it was just really, when you're trying to think of like how to focus on a problem, and, you know, we kind of had to back out of it, you know, and the two biggest things that we were seeing is like, you know, environmental and humanitarian.
Yeah.
You know, and then once you back out of it, then it's like, okay, it's a collective solution. There's not one thing. I can't just like stop using plastic straws. It doesn't fix everything. It is one of the problems. But, you know, that piece and that movement was a great, I guess, a stepping stone to get people aware. But people need to know, like, once we tackle that, then you have to move on to the next. It's like working out, you know.
So keep doing that.
Keep it right, then pick up the next. You know, so if you're going to train for anything, whether you're going to be a writer or, you know, an athlete, it's like you don't start off being a pro athlete. You know, you got to start off like, you know, the biggest thing I talk about is Karate Kid. You know, you got to paint the fence. You know what I mean? You don't get to go to the fight in the championship. You know, Mr. Miyagi's going to make you. You know, you got to catch the fly with the straw. And it's those things that have to happen, and they have to be behaviors. And then on top of that, it's showing people step by step. It's like, it's not a one and done, you failed, and it's just a continuous process. It's going to be a challenge for everyone, but it's just, there are answers and solutions out there. We just have to follow them and then bring the next in.
Yeah, and that's one thing Kristen also says all the time is like, she, like, the fact that the lifestyle that she wants to live isn't the norm. Like, you actually kind of have to step out and do things like the weird way, you know, like to do the things the right way. Which is crazy. Like if we did, like, she doesn't like going to the store. Like I was talking about whenever we were gonna do the festival with you guys, I was like, we should get some bottled water and like just give it up for like, you know, like 50 cents or something like that. And she was like, yeah, but the plastic. And I was like, damn, you got me there, dude.
We felt the same thing on Earth Day too, handing out water to the vendors. I mean, it's almost hypocritical to a point. You know, we try to make up for it in other ways, but every once in a while, it's just a necessary evil. You know, and
there is a convenience factor to it.
But we got to get off of it, and there's no question in my mind. And you know, if I had my way, and what we do here was to teach people to bring their water bottles back so we can fill them up. You know, those kind of things. But plastic just sucks.
Dude.
It's so terrible, dude.
It's so bad. Like, I cannot believe, what is it? The phthalates, is that part of the, or is that from something else? Phthalates, the stuff that's like getting into our blood and everything.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's that, and like, I don't know that much about it.
That's just one of the poisons inside of it.
Oh, really?
There's bisphenol A, and there's tons of others, and there's propanol, and it's just a bunch of chemicals all in one bottle. And then imagine that decomposing under UV sunlight,
or like, I think at some point they probably tried burning it and stuff like that too.
To get rid of it.
It's just awful.
So
bad.
It just turns one problem into another problem. Humans are dumb, man. Humans are really dumb.
Like that principle, like you like matter can't be created or destroyed. Like you're literally just turning into a different bad form of the same thing.
They say unless you've burned it, every piece of plastic ever produced on the face of the planet still exists unless it's been burned. And then at that point, it just ended up in the atmosphere to produce acid rain or something like that. So just imagine every piece of plastic is buried. So every toy that you played with as a child, every Snoopy or whatever character you played with, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle,
Buzz Lightyear and stuff like
Buzz
that.
Lightyear.
Yeah.
So every one of those toys that your parents threw away is somewhere out there.
Yeah.
And that bothers me. You know what I mean? Even the antique stuff is just buried. And just dig a big hole and just put it in there and let's forget about it.
Yeah.
Okay. But it ends up in our streams and our water supply and our soils, and it'll be polluting us for centuries and centuries.
Yeah.
So
and it's like also like treating it as like a single use. Like there's so many things that are single use that you can use over and over. Like working in restaurants, like some of those to-go boxes are like better than the Tupperware you have at your house.
Right.
Like they just send it out and then people just throw it away.
And that's it. Use it for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and then it's gone. Yeah.
But where does it go?
Yeah, it's not gone.
Right.
So we try to tell people it's not gone just because you throw it away. What does away mean? Away could mean the landfill that your backyard is next to, and eventually it just kind of just toxifies the earth.
Yeah, it comes back at you.
It will.
Yeah. But for them, like out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most people.
It's not my problem anymore.
Right.
Yeah, but it will be. So that's cool.
Yeah.
It's devastating. It really is kind of devastating. But there's technologies already that you can, once you start burning these things, you can capture the carbon effects of it and then turn it into energy.
Nice.
And even bricks and things like that. So it's not that the technology doesn't exist, because it does.
Yeah.
It's just that we're not implementing it.
We're not choosing.
We're not choosing to implement it fast
that's not
enough,
the
or we
norm,
have leaders in Congress that couldn't care less about this issues, or you got half of Congress that care, but then the other half are so obstructionist,
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it's got to start on the corporate level, and then the people.
Yeah, because if the businesses don't want it, then it's not happening. Basically.
But there's no regulations in place either, though. So it's like the businesses, if you're not forced to do the right thing sometimes, you won't be doing the right thing. You'll choose to go the easy way out or the cheaper route. So I'm all about regulations to a certain degree.
Yeah.
And when it comes to your environmental regulations, I say there's no limit on that. As long as you're protecting the soil, the air, the water, and the future, essentially, you should have regulations on how much you can pollute and how much you can dump and how much you can burn. But there's just very little.
Yeah, that's insane, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go ahead and take it back. I want to start. So I think I'll start with you, Stanley, over here. So I kind of want to know, like, where were you before all this happened? Where'd you come from? Like, where were you born, and like how? Like, just kind of tell me like the little steps that kind of led you to be part of this whole program here.
Well, I guess I was born in Atlanta, Georgia.
Hey,
Southern, yeah. I guess my journey, just my dad picked up with Sabre, and so as Sabre was growing, it moved us to Oklahoma, and then I ended up here for my high school years. And after that, I just knew that I wanted to go into design.
Yeah.
That was my thing. I knew that I wanted to do my own business, but back then I didn't have the tools, or the web wasn't like as excessive as it is now,
Yeah.
the accessibility, but it just really, so my option was to go to school and then pick up a job and try to work my way into that.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to learn, I guess, all the facets of business, so that when I wanted to branch out on my own, I'd be ready. Yeah, and just life sucked me in. Like, there's opportunity, there's cash flow, there's promotion, there's all these jobs. I ended up graduating from Texas Tech and then moving out to New York.
Oh, really? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and I got a promotion for my job, so that took me there.
Nice. Okay. So what job did you get straight out of college?
Straight out of college, I was already a general manager in fashion retail.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So I got and then from there I got moved to area manager within New York.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so from there I just worked my way. Obviously, most of the fashion retail, it's all in New York, so I was able to work up into corporate office.
Nice.
My final work-in was I was a brand manager, so basically I would, let's say you came to me and you're a brand, you're a store, you would hire me to figure out, whether you're from the UK or Canada, we want to move into the US market.
Right.
So I'd kind of go over with you with your brand, literally help you build like the branding piece of it. Like, here's your target market, like what are your interests, what are your basics, like what's the message you're trying to get across,
Yeah.
and then I find those target markets, and then from there I'd help you grow outside of those.
Oh, okay, cool.
So
yeah.
most companies I worked for maybe about 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
And by that time I hand over the gauntlet, and then I move to the next company.
Oh, okay, so you're kind of like a third party kind of contractor from that business, I guess.
Oh no, they'd actually hire me in. So I'd be hired on, and the idea is as it grows, like I could move into another position. I just really enjoyed
Kind of
that
the beginning
piece of
stage
it. Yeah, and building. I mean, I did all the training and having stores and making my goals, and it was a lot of sales driven. But I really liked translating other people's, design to me is like art. So I liked translating that to making something reasonable,
Nice.
and I guess making that art sellable.
Yeah, like taking a vision and making it like a physical thing that you can actually like market and use.
Right.
Yeah, so that's cool, dude. Yeah, I had no idea that that's what you were doing over there.
Yeah, it's a lot of brands. I liked working for the men's brands the most, but the women's really taught me, I guess, how to flex on that, just because, there's fast fashion, just in general, it just, all that stuff, it really, I guess, it was a boot camp for me to figure out, like, this may have been cool when we designed it. By the time it hits the stores, it could be out of style.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's like, there's no changing it. This is what we have, this is what we've ordered, and there's no, like, returning
Yeah,
it.
if it's 6 months out, it's totally out of season.
Yeah, and they banked everything on basically how your business was last year, and they're like, well, they did it last year, so you need to figure it out.
Oh, wow.
And so it really, I guess, put me under the pressure cooker about everything. So for me, there's always another answer.
Yeah.
So which helps apply to what we're doing. There's always a better way, and this may be a no, but I may have to bust my ass doing this other thing until it does come through. But if you're trying to enter this one house, like there's more than one door, there's more than one window, there's even a chimney.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
you can get it if you try.
Right. So
that's awesome. Okay, yeah. So that's why you guys have so many of these like little projects that are kind of working together to like make the whole thing run, I guess.
Yeah, because Ryan really was passionate about the nonprofit piece, and like for me, my goals wasn't necessarily to be a nonprofit, because it was just something just outside of my box. I just hadn't really dug into it.
Yeah.
But I was always on the give back teams of all the businesses that I had worked for.
Nice.
So it was already in there. I gave back when I was in church, when my parents are both pastors, and so it was always in me. It just, the word nonprofit just didn't click, because of my world was all about get that money,
Yeah.
And so when me and Ryan were going out and volunteering and doing these things, that my natural ability is like, okay, how do I take this and how do I make a life for both of us that we can be supported? And if you're not already having the grants, you have to have some sort of income, some sort of stability. And what are the things that we both have in our backgrounds, which is the retail and the hospitality. It's like, why not take those and then be able to deliver our message through the business? So anything that we're asking to do, we're not asking you to do anything crazy. We actually have a business motto that supports that. And everything you purchase is helping us give back. So whether you're making that choice at home, or you can come somewhere where those choices are made for you, and you can learn and find other people, but then your cash flow will help someone else.
That's awesome, dude. I like that. Yeah, so like obviously you have to kind of take a piece, because otherwise who would run the whole thing? Like it wouldn't be a thing if you guys weren't able to put all of your time into it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and it also helped, just any kind of, we had a lot of brainstorming, we both have a lot of ideas, but if Ryan comes to me and says, we need to go out, there's 100 people out there, I want to be able to feed the intensity, and it's cold, and that's a chunk of money if you don't have a chunk of money to help those people.
Yeah.
But how do we get that project, and how can we do it more often? And what can support that?
How can it become sustainable so that it's not just a one-off, like nice thing that you did?
Right, like that Christmas time, let's go give back. No, how do we do this every day? How do we do this every month? So. Yeah,
that's cool, man. Yeah, because like if you do it the one time, definitely do it if you can only do it the one time. But if you can find a way to continue to do it, like you're just helping more and more people. So.
Right. And it's offering different steps too. So if you can't do it every day, but you can come to our place and prepare some food, then you can prepare it, then someone else will take it out.
Yeah.
But at least you're able to do that, even if it's an hour.
Yeah.
That 1 hour, you can accomplish something out of that.
Yeah.
And that's where it is. Just check off the boxes.
Yeah.
Not all of us no one can do everything all the time.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But that moment, it's like they don't understand that 30 minutes, an hour, it really, really helps, and it really supports, and it's you know, when you only have 2 people or 4 people, that additional person that swoops in,
Yeah.
you know, we call it the sweeper. They come in and it's like that. There's a power hour, and then you can nail a lot of stuff that we couldn't have accomplished.
Yeah, it kind of takes like I kind of think of it from like the ADHD brain, where you're thinking about all these different things that you're trying to do, and then somebody takes one of them and just does it, and you're like, oh, sweet,
That's
like, I
it.
can actually focus on a couple of other things.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's cool. So you went through the whole retail, and then like, did you like was it after you met Ryan that you guys kind of like figured all this out, or did you? So were you like fully sold on this life before, or like how did that kind of? Where did the shift come?
The shift came. I guess that's a good question. The shift came. The company, not any names, but the company that I was with, or each company that I was with, it really upset me that we only did things like once a year, and it upset me that I know your numbers and you made 30 million this year, and we can't even give 1%. It's like less than 1% to help people, and we only did an event or a gala, and it's really not for the people in need. It's like for all the people who want to feel fancy and dress up, and so it irked me. But it was like in that, it's like here's the path, but I don't really know how to connect that.
Like this should be going further.
Right.
Yeah.
And we'd go to board meetings, I would get shot down, and I think the company that I was with last in New York, we had a flood happen in the basement, which was the stock room at one of the stores. So they're like, hey, Stanley, we need you to go to assess what's going on there. So I went down and checked out the store, and it's pretty tall. I think it was like 18 foot.
Right.
So like imagine clothes hanging 3 over 4 of each other.
Yeah.
So the flood was
underground warehouse.
Yeah, and the flood was maybe 2 inches on the floor. So maybe the things in the bottom row. But we had to get rid of everything that's in there. Wow. And so I was like, hey, like I found this nonprofit. It was a lot of outerwear, winter stuff. I'm like, this nonprofit, we don't have to do anything. They show up, we have our staff, we don't have to overstaff. They'll come and do everything, pack up. They're gonna bring boxes, they're gonna bring the things. I scheduled that appointment with them, and I can't remember the day, but it was like literally like, it was scheduled like for a Tuesday, and then that Monday night, someone made a choice to come in and take all the stuff out. So I show up on Tuesday morning to this location, and all the stuff is gone. And I'm like, what's going on? Yeah. And now the nonprofit's showing up. And so I'm trying to get on the phone, and the person who was over that wouldn't answer my calls. And then finally one of the managers, like, they had some people that temp hires, they hired people, which cost us money to get rid of stuff, which cost us money. Yeah. And just didn't even communicate the whole situation. So that was kind of my end. Yeah. And so at that point I was like,
so you guys just really
didn't they shred the stuff?
Yeah, it was stupid? It was actually destroyed. So it was unusable.
Perfectly good stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
For anybody who needed it.
There's like hundreds of people out here on the street that could use that stuff.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And there's different rules, I get it. They were willing to cut out the label, whatever the brand needed to do in itself, but it didn't just sicken me, but it made me feel like I was a part of something that was a huge problem, and it upset me that I had to wait for something that big and to impact myself, I guess, to make a change. And so I was like, I'm done with this. It just made me completely done. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I knew that was time for my shift, and I didn't know what that package would look like. Yeah. So I was like, it's time for me to start my own thing, because I don't have to worry about these things. And just in that cleansing of my old life, like killing,
took your soul and ran out of there.
Yeah, well, I killed it off, and then in that, I guess, rebuild of myself is like when I met Ryan. And so this one thing that I wanted to shift, it was like, not only did I find someone with common interest, but like we both had lots in common, but we both had different skill sets. Yeah. And I'm like, why not have a partnership? And my biggest thing was like, hey, I don't care if you want to be a dolphin trainer and you want to do it for $5 an hour if it makes you happy. Like that's the motto I kind of,
there you go.
But my old life was like, you need 6
take
figures,
this and squeeze some money out of it.
And what you're wearing and the shoes and the, it was just, and so stripping that back, and then I find someone who is like willing to give back and willing
I was
to
making him go. I was making him go, dude. Not making you go, but I was like, we gotta clean up this weekend. You wanna go? And he's like, Yeah.
Yeah.
We're doing homeless service this weekend. You want to go? Yeah. So I was like, sweet. Don't bullshit.
Yeah.
You really want to go?
Right.
You really want to go? And he's like,
Right.
yeah, I do. I'm like, okay. But I had heard this a million times from people telling me they were interested. They love helping the homeless. They love.
Oh yeah, and they don't show up.
They don't show up, or they show up once, and it really wasn't their thing. But
Yeah.
Stanley really proved, to be just as compassionate about a lot of things as I felt in my heart.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, this is gonna work. This is cool. And so we just started building it like that. But it was interesting.
Yeah. Well, my hesitation wasn't that someone was asking me to do it, because I'm down to do it. It was just actually hearing it from someone else's voice, because the people I was around, if I would have said, hey, let's go do a cleanup, or there's a cleanup, like we have to get dirty outside. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so when he's saying that, I'm like, does he just... You know what I mean? Yeah, right.
And I'm like,
do I like dress extra nice?
Right. I'm not trying to impress me.
Yeah. No, and I'm like, wear your dirtiest clothes. You're about to get bloody and gross. And he's like, okay, no problem. And it just, man, it just really did everything.
Yeah.
And
Well, don't let my clothes fooled him.
Oh, yeah.
But
I looked bougie, but I wasn't
But
bougie.
you could get down and dirty if you had to.
Right.
And no complaints, just very helpful, and just really enjoyed the experience. And you could tell when people enjoy the experience, because I've been volunteering a while, and then I was like, he really enjoys it. So he wasn't bullshitting me. Okay. And then we decided to work together at that point. It was pretty cool.
That's cool. Was it something like whenever you first got there? Was it something you fell in love with, or did it take a little bit of like work to be like, okay, I can be okay with like being dirty, because like I know kind of like this
No,
is doing
I was-
good and stuff like that.
No, it's good. I mean, my grandfather had a farm,
Oh yeah.
so growing up, like I did all those things. It was just being an adult. The circle I was in. No
Yeah,
one
I
did.
feel like
No
you
one
don't
did
do
those
this
things.
anymore,
So
yeah.
so I just kind of just lost touch with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I played soccer. I was always outdoors. Like
Yeah.
I mean,
And then you got stuck in this desk chair kind of
Yeah.
job or whatever.
right. I call it. Ryan calls it my strut in the Starbucks cup.
Yeah.
What is going on over
Nice.
here?
Yeah.
You're fired.
That's-
Is that what you chose to wear today? You're out of here.
Like Devil Wears Prada over here.
That's how, exactly.
Exactly.
That's the New York fashion life right there.
Wait, did you adopt like a New York accent at all? Did that kind of rub off on you, you think?
Not really. Maybe just maybe a few words, but I don't.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I've always kind of had like an in-between accent,
okay.
anyways. I have
Yeah.
some words that are country, and then most of it, most people ask me where am I from, because
Yeah.
they can't figure
Yeah, I
it
don't
out.
feel like I could have placed that, like with Georgia or even New York or anything like that. I don't think I could have placed you.
I don't know where I got it, because even I think military, because my dad was in the military, but
I think more than anything,
He's country.
Your country voice comes out every once in a while, but no other voice. He'll say something like, wait, I don't know what you say, but you say something every
that's
once in a
only
while.
because of my sister.
Yeah. But that's the South, and then you can tell, but it's very rare that you hear it. It's just that one twangy word, and I do the same thing
It's a
too.
word that he just doesn't know how to say another way.
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah.
That's the one thing, and I'm the same way. With the South, growing up around a bunch of Southern people, you hear this twangs, and it's like you pick up on it. But
Yeah.
everywhere I lived, I picked up on it. People are like, "Where are you from?" I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm a mutt. I'm from,
Yeah.
I'm from everywhere.
I'm a
literally.
mix now, man.
Mix, yeah. So it's been interesting. That's right.
I think I realized I was country when I first moved to New York, and well, actually, I went for my internship, and me and my friend were late to an interview, and I'm like, we gotta go. So we skipped out because they were going to do like this old lady brand, and like I was like, I've got something, this other brand, we're gonna go to Perry Ellis. So
Nice, yeah.
I made an appointment myself, and we snuck off and did that. So we were trying to get back before the schedule,
Yeah.
and they're like, you just get off at Alston. And so I'm like, okay. So we rode the subway. I'm like, I can't find Alston. And so and I'm like going back, and finally someone laughed at me, and she's like, are you from the South? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, Alston is Houston. And I'm like, oh.
I was
So
thinking Austin.
Yeah. So I literally passed it like 10 times. So we were like 45 minutes late, busted. And I was like, I was called out on the subway for being country, and
There you go.
someone from the South had to point it out.
You gotta learn something.
That's a real
Yeah.
thing. They say Austin.
Austin, yeah.
That is weird.
And it took me, and so then I'm looking at AU. I'm like, what
Now
is
you're
that?
kind of aware, like I might be saying these
Yeah.
things, but you
Right.
guys saying, like, what is going on over here? It's like an alien planet almost.
But the thing about New York, though, is there's so many different accents all over the place.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
So most people you can't tell where they're from. It's a neat place.
Yeah, they're from that one little borough up there in New York where they talk exactly like that.
Yeah.
It's always.
And it's like a 5-block radius.
Yeah, right. Yeah. There's like 1,000 people that speak like that. Okay, so we are about to time out, so we're gonna come back and we'll talk to Ryan about his spot there. So let's go ahead and pause that. There's gonna be a weird little beep in there, and then we'll be back. Nice. So wait, what? Do you follow football at all, or did you like whenever? I mean, being from the South, I can assume.
But football or soccer?
Football.
Oh. Well, yes and no. Both my brothers. So I have 6 siblings. So my oldest brother played semi-professional football.
Ooh, nice.
And so my middle brother played football. And then all my sisters were like cheer, dance team.
Oh, yeah,
so my
everything.
life was all football, and then I was the one who played soccer. You know what I mean?
Okay,
So
yeah.
And I guess I was the weird rebellion, but my brothers, I mean, my brother was 6'3",
Oh yeah.
but we just weren't built the same, you know? But I was faster than all of them.
That's what I'm saying. You probably had way better conditioning too, dude.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I played soccer all growing up, and then I played all through high school, and then I got in some trouble my senior year, and I wasn't able to play, and so like my scholarships all got like screwed up. I still got a scholarship, but it was for a private school that was like $35,000 a year, and they gave me like $12,000.
Yeah,
that's
not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I lost my scholarship too. I actually got recruited, got my scholarship, and then within that, I broke my leg.
Oh, really?
Right after that, yeah. So they were like, "Oh, okay." So they dropped me, and that's why I ended up going to Tech.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And like it literally flipped everything. So I was like, "Well, what am I going to do with
Yeah,
my
like, what do I
life?"
gotta
And,
do now?
like
Yeah.
this is what I was going to do. I was in my head, I was going to be a soccer player.
Yeah,
I was going to go
that
as far.
student athlete mentality.
Yeah, and I was gonna go as far as I can, but then my brand, I knew I wanted to design, like I was gonna start with like athleisure kind of thing.
Nice,
And
yeah.
then kind of, that's who I am, make a brand, and then go into like the streetwear and the stuff that I like to do.
Yeah.
But I wanted to build that, but play as long as I could.
Yeah, for sure.
And then when I broke my leg, it was almost like I think it was my first taste of depression
Yeah.
and feeling lost, and it's like I didn't know.
Because you always had a purpose.
Yeah.
You know?
And then all of a sudden I had to figure it out, and like
it's something that they just like pulled the rug out from under you, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a buddy. He tore his ACL like right before he was going to go play middle linebacker for somebody, and like he didn't even end up going to college.
yeah.
He didn't do anything.
That's almost irreparable.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're not going to bet money on it, basically.
No way.
So, you know,
Yeah.
so it sucks.
Yeah, even I tried to go back into it, and my dad, he was just real strong about. I guess I wish I was more. I guess that knowing what I know now, kind of thing, or if I had access to the stuff that these kids have access today. But it was just my dad was just like, no, you're gonna. I don't mind you going into design. You're gonna have to do a business background, but I'm not gonna have you go to this junior college to be picked up, and then it's 2 years, and we got to figure this all out again.
Yeah.
But I'm like, Dad, but if I get recruited from there. But either way, I'll still have my associates. I go to any school that I want to, and if it's over, it's over.
There you go, yeah.
And I wish I would have been the it's my life kind of thing.
Yeah.
But in my head, it was like it's their money. You know what I'm saying? Like they're helping me, and
It would be a little bit more time and like effort as well too to kind of go through that whole like the rehab of it and everything like that, and then get back into it and start from there.
Yeah.
You know, you'd kind of be starting over.
But there's guys playing up till they're 40 years old.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so you had time.
I had time, yeah, and it just didn't fit in their time schedule. You know, in our eyes, it was like to be successful, you go high school, 4-year college. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
for our, it was
Hit
very
that fast
structured.
track and go on.
Yeah, and when I was gambling with that in his eyes, it was like,
When there was a delay thrown in there.
yeah, he's like, no.
Yeah, now this is what we do.
I've seen your brothers. I know what's going on. No, not you.
Oh,
You're not
wow.
the one. You know.
Yeah.
But
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, that's one of those detours, man. Like that's how you ended up here, man.
right.
I'm actually. Let me check this audio, make sure everybody sounds super crispy. All right, what's up, everybody? This is Austin with that name for the awareness project actually come from.
Just start raising awareness about issues that people are just unfamiliar with. Or you think it's good?
Yeah, for sure.
Wanted to branch out on my own. You know,
everything's
be
actually
ready.
nice.
Yeah, and just like.
Yeah, one of these days I want to look into doing the multiple mics, but I know that comes with a whole other set of problems. You know, you got to get the piece that goes in the middle and mixes everything up. I don't know how it works. All stuff, yeah. One of these days, maybe.
Well, that seems good.
Okay, so we ready?
Sure.
Cool.
Yeah, you good? Okay.
Stanley, you don't need to pee.
No.
There you go.
I'll hold it.
Okay, so we just got done kind of hearing like a little bit of Stanley's story here, which was that was really cool, man. I didn't know like any of that, and then kind of on the break, I got a little bit more, which was cool. Yeah. If I end up doing the video, I'm gonna try and keep that apart because that was really cool. I like because like that's something that kind of spoke to me too, so that's really cool, man. Yeah.
Awesome.
But we do need to turn it over to Ryan over here because I want to know, because I know you've been a couple of different places, and like I'm just not sure like that much about your background. Like you dropped little like nuggets here and there for me to kind of like breadcrumb it a little bit, but I have no idea the whole story.
Well, I lived all over the place, and it kind of inspired me to be who I am, I guess, now. But it's kind of weird because thinking back, I can't figure out who put the light in my heart because it wasn't something that I got from my parents or grandparents. I don't really know where I got it, but I always knew I was a big tree hugger.
Yeah.
From child, like as young as I can remember. I was recycling. I started recycling committee, you know, like when I was a little kid, and we got the whole diocese, Catholic diocese, to recycle. So around the time I was about 9 or 10, I realized the impact one person could have.
Yeah.
Because I was influencing nuns and kids and priests and principals, and all of a sudden people were recycling and getting money for it, and there was incentivizing people to do so. And around that time, I think I realized that that I could make an impact somehow, some way. And so that my goal was always to just influence people, you know. But I don't know where it came from. I just know that it was there. You know?
Yeah, it was something you kind of like saw the path and like it just kind of fit.
Yeah, it's so weird because people always ask me like, where did it come from, and I really don't know, you know, because
there wasn't that like switch point where you're like, this is what I need to be doing.
I don't know. Not that I remember. It was just interesting. It was like one day I knew the impact I had on the planet and the importance of recycling, and you know that was in the 80s, late 80s, you know, so yeah, late 80s, early 90s, and I was like, dude, people need to do something, and look, you can get paid to do it. So I'd start getting excited about the money aspect of it and teaching the schools that, hey man, you can make money and that could help the cafeteria.
Go back into it, yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where it all came from, I guess. But going back even further, I spent a lot of time in Mexico. You know, my dad's straight out of Mexico, so I'm the first generation other than my mom to be here in the United States, and everybody's still there. But we grew up in a very poor area.
Yeah.
Over
Where
there,
was that at?
In Chihuahua.
So really?
Chihuahua, which is the capital. But it was interesting because I'd spend the majority of my time in the United States, in Dallas, Fort Worth area, and then go to Mexico for the summer. We spend time with my family, and it's night and day difference. The spoils that we have here and the poverty that we had there. And so over there it was like soccer balls and, you know, and playing outside, really dirty, not a lot of trees, you know, it's very dry, desert kind of area. But people were begging everywhere, children were begging, families are selling brooms right outside their doors because that's their business. A lot of poverty. So I think that I was already kind of it pulled on my heartstrings to be around those people during that duration of time. But the thing that I learned most, I think, in Mexico was that more people stick together when you don't have as much.
Yeah.
So it's a unified community in my grandma's area. You know, I grew up over the summer, and it seemed like people would always take care of one another. Whatever you needed, you could find it, and you know who to go to for it. In the United States, no matter where I lived, it was more difficult to know your neighbors, more difficult to come together to solve things, you know.
Yeah,
you
help each other. Most people just kind of like Google stuff now and like figure it out on their own.
Yeah. So it was an interesting difference. So I got to experience both sides of it, and I think that helped me be really in tune with people and their needs and things. So I felt like that was probably what amplified the heart and soul inside what we wanted to do. You know?
Yeah, seeing two start very different perspectives right there.
Completely different, you know, in the poverty and the pollution in Mexico is totally different than the pollution here, you know. Really? Yeah, it's unfortunate, but they're very negligent to the environment they have, and there's not a lot of recycling facilities, so you'll find trash everywhere.
Yeah.
The rivers are just nasty. The water's so polluted you cannot drink it from the tap, you know. So it was just night and day difference in so many different ways.
Yeah.
I feel like, so they got older, moved out to California, and then that was my first, for college, and that was my first real experience of a clean, green place to live.
Oh yeah.
people took care of the beaches, and no plastic blowing in the wind, no styrofoam washing ashore. It was just a very unique place to be.
Yeah.
And I was so happy to be there. I was like, this is what the ocean should always look like, and this is what people should be doing, you know, like the waste factor. And so I loved it. You know? So finished school over there and started doing graphic design, things like that. Tried out New York for a minute. Did not like it. Went to debt immediately. It just wasn't for me. Real dirty too. It's just puts you in poverty mode when you don't make enough, and so that kind of sucked. But I think where I learned to also, like, the hospitality piece of what we're doing now is I've been in hospitality, you know, and management and bartending for probably the majority of my life, even through college and even through my corporate jobs. I was always doing a second hospitality job, just for extra money or whatever it was. So that I always wanted to make sure that things are neat and tidy and clean and organized in the kitchen, and food prep is done adequately. And so, like, those things were ingrained in my brain around those, you know, the teenage years to 20s. So I feel like that was probably the most important thing. And then around the time Hurricane Katrina happened was when I decided that I wanted to step up and do even more. So I was just a baby, I felt like, and I went out to New Orleans to help after Katrina. And it was the most depressing thing I've ever witnessed in this country. Just so much devastation everywhere, so many deaths and carcasses, and it was just the worst I'd ever experienced. I didn't really understand how we could neglect so many people in our own country, in our own backyard. So that was kind of where it started with the nonprofit ideas in my brain. I was like, there's so many neglected people that aren't helped by Red Cross or FEMA or any agency out there. So I want to do that. I want to help disaster relief. I want to create something that helps the little people recover after. And, you know, like what Stanley was talking about, how in the retail world they were dumping all this stuff. The insurance company made you shred those clothes that could have been given away. In New Orleans, it was something that you would never experience, because every facility, every place we were at, they wanted to zero out all of it. So even if at Walmart, we were cleaning up Walmarts and Home Depots and hotels and you name it, they wanted everything to the parking lot in piles. So the insurance company could zero it out. And I'm talking, some of it was so good and so useful. And they were literally throwing it into the landfill. So we had people coming through, rebuilding weeks after Katrina hit, water's receding, people have died, we're still pulling bodies. It was just nuts. And then families would come by and ask for a door or a sink or a toilet or just anything. And we had to tell them no, because the military was keeping us from giving it away. We actually had our own military telling us, you cannot give this stuff to people. That's just the rules. So that hurt me, like, tremendously. I'm like, this is billions of dollars, and that's just what I've seen. Imagine what you can't see. And dumping it.
Why? Like, I don't understand.
No rules, no regulations. The governor at the time, no regulations. The mayor at the time, no regulations. The president at the time, no regulations. Nobody forcing the insurance company to do the right thing. So
it's just easier for them to just get rid of it.
Well, the insurance mentality is that we are paying out to cover this stuff, and the idea is they don't want you to liquidate that and double dipping and making more money, so it needs to be disposed of. So,
but there's ways that you can give it.
But that's where greed kicks in. You know what I mean?
I think
no one can have it. You know.
Imagine if the insurance company like took over that part and like just gave it out.
Just imagine how much good you could do, or how many people could have rebuilt quicker than they did. And it was just a night and day difference in seeing that. And then we moved right away to Wilma and I forget what other one was. There's a couple hurricanes that went back to back. So we moved to Florida, and Key West and Fort Lauderdale was real wealthy, and lived there for like a year. And that was one of the coolest places to live, but also one of the most unique places to experience the response of the government and the response of, you know, over here in New Orleans, you got a bunch of black folk, a bunch of poor folk, couldn't get recovered, still haven't recovered in some places to this day. Key West, Fort Lauderdale, all up and down the coast of Miami, anything you needed, we had to recover. Any kind of supplies or any kind of, it was very weird. So around those years, I guess, it was like 2009 to 2014, I experienced the difference between the way we treat different demographics.
Oh yeah.
The Florida wealthy Republican acolytes and wealthy tourist industry, or the poor in New Orleans, living in the Ninth Ward in Metairie. They're below humans.
Yeah.
And that shit really just drove me up the wall and just stirred in my brain. At that time, I started writing a lot of what I was experiencing because it was trauma. So such a traumatic thing. But the cool part was, at that time, my dad came and he decided to do disaster relief with me.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So he really kind of just kept me getting up in the morning and from being depressed, and he's like, I'm gonna do it too, and I want to,
He's like, it's still like it's a good cause, but it could be better, kind of a deal, maybe. Like you're saying, like, don't just not do it because of these like bad things that they're doing. Like, it's still helping people.
Yeah, he was like, he would say that actually, like, you know why you're here. Remember why you're here. Just get up and do it. And so those are times like when my dad and myself actually got closer because of our experiences, and he grew compassion that I hadn't seen him prior to that, and I wasn't afraid to call out the problems that I would see. And my dad's the same way, and he ended up staying with that company. Long story short, when it comes to my dad, he stayed with that company for a long period of time after that. And ever since then, he gave tons of free stuff away to people as they're recovering it. Under the, you know what I mean? Just to help people. And my dad's like,
Robin,
this is
over there.
My dad's like, this is bullshit. You were right. Somebody asked me for this, and I gave it to him, and I'm like, good for you, Dad.
There you go.
And I told him to come around after hours, and I gave him, like, good for you, Dad. So I could feel that, again, the impact one person could have on others. So that's
like
kind of
that one little act of good right there that he's doing. If that was on a greater scale, it would change the world.
Imagine it. Just imagine how much we could do if we put our minds together and then let the compassion guide us. Just imagine what we could accomplish. So yeah, those kind of where I went after disaster relief was I got here to Texas to try to do more, more good, if you will. Started doing the corporate thing for a while, the hospitality thing for a while. Made impact there. Tried to teach people about how to bring recycling into big corporate facilities, and they're still doing it. So
and this is in like restaurants or bars, or what is this?
University hotel properties.
Oh, okay, nice. So on a pretty big scale there.
Huge. The biggest facilities I've ever worked at.
Wow.
$1 billion facilities without recycling programs.
Wow.
Without efforts in place to take care of the environment, and then food waste was unbelievable.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So we'd feed all of these thousands of people come in every week to study, and then go to their respective cities in different countries or here in this country, and they would study here as the hub, and they would eat for free all day, every day. Unlimited Starbucks, unlimited smoothies, unlimited food, no charge. It's just a way to keep people in the company, a way to make sure that their experience was, and they would dump everything after the end of the meal period. Like buffets, like Las Vegas style buffets being dumped in these trash cans.
So like it's already paid for, just get it out there.
Yeah, and so I started taking pictures, and at meetings I would do presentations and slideshows of the food waste, and they're like, oh shit, this guy is, here comes Ryan again.
Oh no, yeah.
Sustainability and recycling and food waste.
He's gonna make us do our job today.
But one of the things I was like trying to show him, like, if you're financial assets management and you're dumping this shit down into the trash cans, it's a financial asset that you're throwing away. And like sometimes the light clicks with people and you see things change. Well, it changed, and they started donating food.
Nice.
They started preparing less food in order to avoid the waste. They started recycling, giving people their own cups instead of styrofoam. So, again, one person, big impact.
There you go.
And a lot of people like us that give a shit, we were naggers, like a bunch of my team and support, they were doing the same thing. They're like, man, grabbing recyclables out of the trash and saying, this is where it goes. Pay attention, and so you see the change in people. And I think that around that time was like, and then COVID hit, it was the perfect, opportunity to leave.
Oh, okay, so that's whenever that kind of started for you. Were you already working on the awareness project?
Oh, we were already building. In fact, he left his job even before I did, so I was still just like trucking it, working 2 jobs at the time, bartending and then at the big company, and doing my thing there. And Stanley's building walls and our tables and stuff, because he was able to leave already. So I'd come back and be like, what are you building today? And he's like, well, we needed a bar top. We needed and he's already doing all these things. And so it was like, I was joking so much, I mean, at the time, but he was just building it just because he believed. And at that time, it was true proof to me that there's somebody else that gives a shit as much as I do. You
That's
know,
awesome,
probably.
dude, yeah.
And then he would tell me about the fast fashion and stuff that I wasn't so aware of. And it really just opened my mind to all of the waste that we've produced in humanity, and all of the I don't know, it just seems like
that's only 2 industries right there.
Right.
So,
so imagine what you can do when you put your heads together to come up with a place like this, you know, where you can repurpose things and upcycle things, and it's been pretty cool. But so I learned a lot in a very short amount of time, I felt like, and then so moving into the nonprofit world just felt like it was the right thing to do. And in all honesty, I kind of went every direction, you know, until now I look back, I'm like, should I have probably just followed the environmental science, you know, the whole time. Meanwhile, I went to business and teaching and bartending, you know.
Well, it's those little things. That's where you picked up a skill over here, and then you went back over here and picked up a little something. You know, those little like detours kind of like taught you. You know, they've made you the person that you are.
So. Yeah, opening your eyes to stuff. Yeah, so that was. I mean, it's cool, but it's funny because I ended up in the nonprofit sector, which is probably what I could have imagined at 8 years old.
Yeah,
so weird.
But I think it helps you learn how to apply it, because a lot of people go to school and you learn these things, but then it's like, how do I apply it to life? Yeah. It's like, okay, great, I know all this information, but how do I use it? But you're literally seeing it and you're putting some of it to work. So it's actually, it's almost like you did the trade version of it as opposed to going to university.
You're doing the work problem.
Yeah, actually getting the work done. Yeah, so that's kind of how my background, I guess, led me to here, you know.
And so the idea, so where did you guys like come together? Like, how did this, like, where did this like cross? Like, where did you guys meet?
Do you want to go? So, what did we meet? Like a volunteer gig, and then he was just really expressive about, you know, going to volunteer and doing different things, and I had just moved back from New York, so my job had sent me here to work with the company, and then they filed for Chapter 11. So I was supposed to move, and they were going to replace me, but I decided not to go. So I'd been gone for 8, 9, 10 years from here, so I didn't really have any kind of network here. So I was starting, and so that's how we met. And then as we were just kind of going through talking, doing things like, you know, we kind of like guerrilla volunteer and like run and go help this and do those different things, and you know, during it we just really just talking, and it wasn't about like, we didn't go really seeing movies and doing all those things. It was like we went outdoors and we talked about stuff, and so a lot of it was just, as we were talking, a lot of it was, I guess, that dreaming and brainstorming kind of thing,
and seeing how like you could like facilitate it. Like each person had a different, like, say you had an idea but you didn't know how to do it, he came up with this like one thing, you're like, well, okay, that's like the piece that I needed right there.
Yeah, exactly. It would be like, he's like, I want to do this, and you know, whatever it is, and I'm like, oh, but we could achieve that like this, that could be possible. And then he's like, but we don't, you know, I'm like, but we got to figure out funding or whatever. I'm like, but if we had a sustainable, it would just be those long conversations, and then we'd pick up and start over and talk about those things again. And then we talk about some of the things that we've tried in our past, and maybe it just didn't come to fruition. So a lot of it wasn't new to either one of us, but it was new for us together. And then to have someone who actually, I don't want to say like patronizing, there's some people who don't get it, they hear those things that we speak of and it's overwhelming. How are you going to do all that? You need to focus on one thing.
That's what I was going to say, actually. One of the things that I liked the most about Stanley in the beginning was that at the time, like the volunteers that I had, I guess, gathered, and like people on my little team that I thought would be part of the team, they always said that you're overly ambitious. You have too many plans. You have too many, like, you're all over the map. But in my mind, I'd already strategized and drawn it out. You know what I mean? And I was showing him this stuff and telling him this stuff, and then he would add to it. And I'm like, okay, so I guess I'm not overly ambitious.
And I don't feel like I'm crazy.
And never did you tell me that. Remember, like, that that's just too much for one organization to do. Or that's just too much. And so when everybody else was kind of being that Debbie Downer, I guess.
Like,
you know,
naysayer kind of.
That I didn't feel like that from him at all, and it was like, okay, well, this is something that we could grow. So I was like, let's do this community cafe.
Yeah.
And I started telling Stanley about this community cafe. He's like, I've never done a restaurant before. And I'm like, it doesn't matter, you can do it.
Yeah, right.
And
Yeah.
you learn anything.
Mm.
And so that's when we started building, you know, when I was telling you he's building stuff and the bar top and all that. That was our first plan.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
Was
The
the
cafe
community.
that you were in right before this building, or?
No, there was a prior one to that.
Okay.
Yeah, but
You might have seen it. The little storage space that we had in the shop. It was, so
we never got to open it, so we had struggles with.
Yeah, I probably didn't see it then.
Yeah.
I'm sure Kristen did Kristen see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Kristen saw it, but it was the one at the end of the place. But the landlord never ended up giving us power, so we waited for power for a very long time, working in there without electricity, generators and volunteers, and we gained the most of our volunteers around that time. People just coming to help. They're like, "You guys have awesome ideas! Oh my God, this place is gonna be awesome!" So they're helping us rip out floors and build walls and stuff. And then I would show up after work, and then we would just be doing it all over again.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, a lot of the growth I think just came from, it's like having all those ideas. I don't know, ideas don't scare me, you know, but ideas get old to me because I like the action part of it. So like when we're talking about things, there's no reason for me to ever disagree with him. Like everyone learns or has a vision through their own experience. So for me, it's like, what he's talking about, through what I know, what I can do, I knew that it could be possible.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I can help.
I may not do it his way, but through what my experience and what I can do,
Yeah.
you know, and that's kind of how I took other people's feedback. You know, you tell me that's overwhelming to you because of your experience. If you've never if you didn't open other brands and have other people's cash flow in your hands, and every decision you made your job was on the line.
Down to the tiniest little thing.
Yeah, and so if I can make them billions of dollars, I'm pretty sure I can do something that can stabilize us to be able to live off of.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a smaller goal.
The
You
way
know what I mean?
smaller, yeah.
You know, so, and any of the ideas that he thought about, you know, it's like, you know, he talked about the cafe idea, and, you know, and I've opened small little coffee shops like inside my retail stores. And a lot of all our dreams had just crossed over.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this point we have somebody who's going to support, and we never had that. Like, he's like, you can't do that. You know, it was just, it kept growing.
Yeah.
And
So no bad idea. Well, I mean, no idea is like a bad idea. Like, let's see if it can work, and if it can work, do it.
How can we do it?
Just talk about it. Let's try.
Let's do it. Yeah, and I think that's when I kind of shocked you. I guess shocked him. We had talked about it, and we had talked about moving forward with the awareness project, like really making it, like, I guess I say real, but
Make it like a real nonprofit.
Make it a real
not
nonprofit,
just a volunteer group.
just not a volunteer group, and you know, just something that's real.
Like, put things on paper. Like, make this like a legit.
Let's make
thing,
it like Joe.
Because that'll help you in so many other ways. You know, if you
Yeah.
can do that, it brings funding and all that. So yeah, Stanley was put the fire under my ass for that.
And I was like, "Do you really want to do this?" And like,
I'm like,
and
I've
I guess he
been
didn't
wanting to
know
do
my
it.
I was like, "So we're serious?" And he was like,
He's
"Yeah."
like, I'm kind of doing it right now.
Yeah.
And he's
I'm
like, and then that's the thing. He's like, I'm not working right now. I can make it work. Like, let's do this. And I was like, all right, let's do it. So that community cafe became like our dream at that moment. You know, during that period of time.
Well, I was on severance from my company that I had left.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So at that point, I'm like, I've got 2 years. Because my check would dwindle, but I'm like, I've got 2 years, we need to figure this out. And I'm like, and after that 2 years, I'm like, when am I ever gonna have an opportunity to be able to like not have to work?
Right.
You know, not that this wasn't gonna be work, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And to me, it was like, I can give all my life and not have to worry about after my 40-hour job. And any job, I tried to take one on during that time, and it just consumed me. And it's like, that didn't even last like 6 months.
Yeah, and that's the problem that I'm having. Like, that's what I want to eventually get to where I can just put all of my effort into the things that I want to do. It's still, still work, but it's what I want to do, rather than, go clock in somewhere and make the money that you need just to live. On this planet.
But it's not even living. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's
just
what we try to talk people into these days. It's like we don't have a whole lot of time on the calendar anymore. You know what I'm saying? We're into some dire time periods of life, and don't waste your time anymore doing what you shouldn't be doing, or
what you don't want to do.
What's not your passion, because before you know it, 10 years has gone by, 20 years has gone by. I mean, who knows how much time we have, but that was my experience. I was doing all of these things, and I love hospitality and management and running a restaurant, bartending. I love all that stuff, and I'll never let this is my part of me.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's not enough help.
Yeah.
It's not enough love output, you know?
Yeah, you're not touching, like, reaching as many people as you can.
Right.
You know, like the guy that sits at your bar and, like, you talk to him, like, help him with his day.
No,
or,
that's
like, change his
fantastic.
mind on something, you know?
That's fantastic, and that's how it starts. You know what I mean? Like you can see your impact on somebody from across the counter. But and then for a period of time, I really wanted to go into politics because I love politics. That's what I studied in school.
I can absolutely
So-
see that for you. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to be a politician, but somewhere in there, it just light bulb moment that there's so many obstructionists in Washington
Yeah.
that don't care about things and that have been there forever, and we know who they are. You know, without saying names, and we know which parties they are for the most part. But at that point in time, I was like, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Politics-
Jumping, like, into the system to try and fight the system at the same time.
Yeah, it's not going to work. You're up against the man and the machine and all of that. So that dream kind of fizzled out,
Yeah.
and that's where the nonprofit bulb came into my brain. But that
Well, I can go about it this way and, like, make the impact that I want to.
I feel like that's
Yeah.
kind of how in my brain it was working. Like, yeah, you can do much more from this avenue
Yeah.
than you could
Without
from-
your hands tied behind your back.
Yeah.
With all the
Yeah.
hoops and
Yeah, anything you wanted to get done, like you could do it next week, but if you were in that, like you
Okay.
wouldn't be able to get anything done. For
You can get
years.
anything done, or you have to water down a version of this, or water down, you know,
Or
like
put another piece of another bill within it and stuff like that. Dude, that drives me crazy. Like, why can't we just decide on like
Right.
one thing at a time?
just get it taken care of. Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of excuses that they have for those reasons, but it don't make sense to me. And I think at that time I was like, dude, no, politics not for me. I study it like crazy still to this day. I mean, I know about everyone in Congress and you know the president's bills and everything, but I don't want to be in it. I don't think.
Yeah.
You know,
Do you think it's something that's important? Because I've never really
Yeah,
messed
oh.
with politics much, and I had somebody telling me to vote the other day, and they're like, it starts at like
Oh,
this
yeah.
level. Like you need to make sure that you're picking who's.
I think
around.
it's
Yeah.
probably one of the most important things that could change the way of the future. Like we have to get these old, you know, bags out of office.
Yeah, yeah.
And
These
bring in-
80-year-olds that we don't even
Yeah.
identify with. You know.
Right, we can't identify with them, and they couldn't identify with us, and they take a lot of money from special lobbyists and things and interests that are against what we believe in, as far as you know, keeping the environment clean, or people that are poor or homeless, or you name it. And then you spend billions of dollars in the military, but you can't bring people out of poverty in your own
Right.
nation. You spend billions of dollars weaponizing other countries, but you can't put a climate bill on the table
Yeah.
to save the damn
Or
planet.
education or all these other things
Yeah.
too. Like,
Yeah.
There's a lot
So,
of other things. That
Absolutely, you gotta start local for sure, and voting in every election, getting rid of the ignorance, and then focusing on what matters most to you. And like for me, it's like if you don't run on a platform of clean energy, immigration reform, you know what I'm saying, eradicating homelessness and poverty. If you don't talk about those things and you don't run on it, I won't vote for you.
Yeah.
Period. I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican. If you don't represent those kind of beliefs,
Yeah.
then you really don't need to be in office because you don't represent the majority.
Yeah, that's a huge majority of the population right there.
That is the
that's-
majority.
Yeah, but they're catering to the people that.
Right.
But they're the people that vote too. So.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
They're
the problem.
that's it.
Yeah.
You said it. They're the people that vote. And they're consistently showing up at the polls, and they're consistently
Putting money in their pocket.
put money in their pockets, electing and re-electing these fools, and look where we are. So I mean, I one day, like we talked about doing like a local election, you know, being like a local rep or something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's really important to start locally, but at this point in time, it's such an important issue. A lot of these things that no more baby steps. Like we have to actually make some leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
No more this, you know, kicking the can down the road for OC and you know
Yeah,
future
just
children.
let them take care of it. Yeah, it'll eventually solve itself, or
Or-
you know,
yeah.
whatever the thinking is, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, why wouldn't we do that now? And so when people say, I'm not going to vote because it doesn't matter, I'm not going to vote. And a lot of people say that, my parents included. I said, no, it does matter. Please vote for us. You know what I mean? Like, we still have a shot. And imagine what just
don't
a
give
few.
up on it. Yeah.
Don't give up on. My dad says you should give up on it. Like they're all corrupt, and I'm like, Dad, no. If you start studying it, you'll see there's a lot of good people that are running for Congress that actually give a shit about the right things. They're generally younger. They're
Yeah.
generally like us.
And they're the names you're not going to hear too.
Their names you're not going to hear, or they create a polarizing name for them, like the AOC, for instance, somebody who's really stands up for human rights. You know? And then they admonish her in the news and on Fox that she's the devil. And
Yeah.
she's just a bartender, a waitress that worked her way to the top, that knows what poor is like being poor,
Yeah.
and knows what the problems we're up against.
Not
So
having medical for her.
Yeah, ever having insurance and student loan debt, so to me, those are the ones you want in offers.
Yeah, the people that have lived it.
Yeah,
Right.
and it's not that hard to find them. It's just a trick getting them to vote.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Well, I think it's kind of a.
Well, hold up. We are about to time out here, but I do want to hop right back on that. Does anybody need to do anything? Anybody coffee or anything like that? You don't need to pee.
Okay, I'll go pee.
I'm gonna go after this.
Like, stop calling me out, recording.
Stanley's story here. Good night.
We're all.
Yep. Nice. Okay, so let's go ahead and hop right back in here. All right, so we kind of left off there. We went on like a little bit of a detour there, but that was good information that I feel like I needed to know for sure. But so you have the cafe going right now. So how did you have to get like your business license at this point, or was that?
We started building the original.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of what we did. We filed for the papers. Stanley put the fire under my ass, and then we got all of that rolling, and we were thinking it was going to work, and then the landlord kept giving us excuses on why we couldn't get electricity.
Yeah.
But it was to rewire the entire space was going to be very expensive, and he had an insurance claim and a lawsuit against him at the time. So a lot of excuses. His health kept kicking it down the road, and here we are 6 months, but still building without power. The dream started to, I don't know, it was a weird feeling of being kind of in limbo.
Yeah.
And it was a true struggle for sure. And I couldn't quit work still.
Yeah.
He's still busting his ass. We still couldn't get the place open. And then I guess it was, I don't remember how it came about, but one day you were just like, he's not going to give us the space. Let's find an alternative, like quick.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, what about the end space that has power in there?
Nice.
At the very end of the corner there, where the thrift store was.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, let's open a thrift store. People want to donate. We have volunteers. And I was like, well, you do know how to run stores. And I'm not a retail guy, but you can show me everything I need to know. And he's like, yeah.
Don't let him fool you. I had to sell this to him.
Yeah, did you?
Yes. I did not want the idea of a thrift store.
It was kind of like, this is what we planned. This isn't happening. I don't know. Like, I'm like, but we can just do this. But I don't know anything about that. It was a lot of, it was a lot more shock. I already just threw him into like, we're doing this business, and it didn't happen that way.
And he's like, yeah, you don't have any experience, but you've run hotels with gift shops and small and I'm like, no, that's not the point.
Yeah.
I was like,
this is like a big store with lots of stuff, and he's like, we'll start small with donations, and that's kind of how it started. So we said to the landlord, hey man, you still haven't given us power. Can we have an alternative plan for 6 months or a year at the max? I think it was 6 months. And then he's like, it took a minute to convince him, but he said yeah. Mm-hmm. So then we got the thrift store, which had.
I'm a pusher.
Yeah.
So negotiated those terms. The lights were on, and we were like super stoked. At that point, we had a space, so we were building over there.
Yeah. You're still working on the old.
Still working on the old
Yeah.
place.
Yeah.
Building over here now. Painting over here.
Yeah.
So
that's where the second idea starts here. Yeah.
Well, to him it was out of the blue, but again, I was there some days by myself all day long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Building and then thinking
and things in your head.
Yeah,
Like, what's gonna happen?
And I'm like, okay, we've just given out this cash, the little cash that we did, because we didn't take any loans. No, it's like, this is what we have, and we got to make it work.
Nice.
And then he took 90% of that, of what we had, and in my eyes, I was like, okay, where can we get the cash flow? Because this beast is not gonna. I mean, it's gonna take a long time. I'm like, what's the easiest thing I can do, and I can do it by myself if he still has to work. Go back to what I know, you know what I mean? And we were already getting donations that we were taking stuff to the homeless and stuff, and we have this abundance of things that, thanks for all these coats, but it's August.
Yeah,
like what do we do with those things, I'm like, it's back to school. You know what I mean? So those old skills, I was like, just flip. I was like, Ryan, we don't even need, I'm like, I can get retail racks, I can get this. I was already collecting stuff.
Nice.
Even prior to knowing that we were going to do this, because I knew I was going to start my own business. I had random fixtures, random tables, and I would take donations of home stuff. I'm like, I can use this, I can use that, and
it's funny because he was pulling shit out of nowhere. Like,
Where did all these tables come from?
And then we went to New York to go pick up a bunch of his stuff. He's finally committing to Texas at that point. So we went to New York and we opened the storage space, and here's all this nice stuff, and gave me deja vu.
He called it bougie.
Nice. Yeah.
Or it gave me deja vu because I lost all my shit in New York. Like,
really?
Yeah, they couldn't catch up with me. Long story short, they sold all my shit.
Oh,
So
nice.
Stanley had all this stuff in there, and we brought it all back. And he's like, I don't know what we're gonna do with it at the moment, but it's gonna be perfect. So it turned out to be fixtures. It turned out to be bookshelves.
I've got a table. You can fold jeans on it. Like my furniture can be the fixtures. Like
so that worked out okay. So we brought all that stuff back. Started the thrift store really small, like very sparse.
Yeah.
It was a big empty space.
There's like a couple of like pieces of furniture over here. Here's like a rack of clothes.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And then we were like, let's put a pool table in here. Let's turn it into open mic nights,
Nice.
movie screenings. So we started making it a very multi-function space.
Have
Classroom
little events and stuff.
Yeah, we had city council come and do meetings in the back. Classroom, you saw the space, but it was very multi-purpose for a very long period of time before we got smothered in our own donations.
But what's easy to collect though is stuff. You can't necessarily get cash, but it's just stuff.
Yeah, people just keep.
I just went to my parents' house. Just go to family. I'm like, what are you doing with all this stuff in the garage? Like, why is it still here? It's like you're not going to use it. Yeah, and just picker. Here I am, pickers. What's this TV doing in here? Like, there's no one. You don't even use this guest room.
Yeah, nice.
Ryan, we're having movie night.
That's how it was. We got all kinds of cool stuff.
That's perfect. Yeah. So, did you guys have to like start with your with your personal money, or did it start with the donations, like with the
it was all
the furniture and things?
It was all personal money. I think anything that we weren't a 501c3 yet. Until we started doing that part. So getting donations was very difficult. People were willing to give us stuff.
Yeah.
The minute you ask for even $5, they hear a $sign, they're like, where's your paperwork?
Yeah.
Where's your paperwork? And I think that was what the conversation I had with Ryan. I was like, do you want to do this? Because if we're going to do this, then we need to file.
The paperwork part.
Yeah. Or if it's just going to be our side gig, then like we can continue doing what we're doing. But
we started pretty much our own money because we were lucky to have it for that moment. But that's all we had, pretty much, I guess. I had a kid, so it's expensive, paying rent plus bills, so it's expensive. Life is expensive. So put our little monies together, and I think we ended up doing everything. He ended up taking 10 grand of ours, the landlord,
Really?
to get us into the space.
Yeah.
And never returned it to this day.
Yeah.
So a lot of what we had was that, and that was it. And after that, it was just like, just by prayer and
by the good of people and the grace.
The grace of God, and that's how it felt. Like it was like we didn't take out loans, but we thought about it. We didn't beg, but we asked. You know what I mean? So, and then just I'm still at this company, and I'm talking to people, and we started getting financial sponsors, people that believed in us.
Nice.
They would come visit and start talking. And then we started receiving like restaurant donations from this place. And so we're getting good stuff, and then people just really started believing in us, and little funding here, little funding there, but a lot of prayers, honestly, dude. And it's kind of like God show us what needs to happen in the right order, and that's exactly what's happened.
Yeah. And it kind of like
you don't need that
makes you feel like you're doing the right thing too. Like if things are working out for you, and like there's not like. Because like I'll relate it to like whenever I started writing the book, like everybody was like behind it like immediately, and like everything started kind of working out, and I was like, okay, I think this is what I need to be doing
right
now. And so like I'm still kind of riding that high right now, which is kind of dope. So has there been like a low spot where you're like, I don't know about this,
Yeah, we've had a few of them. I think the only thing that's really helped us through those is that I think in all the discussions that we had, like we didn't take the loans or anything like that. I really wanted a low risk, high return.
Nice.
So the whole idea was not to get us tied up. Like, I met this guy, he's got a kid. Like, I can't impact their future if something happens with him and this doesn't work out. And for me, it's like if this doesn't work out, I want to be able to walk away. And not have that haunt me. It's kind of like that student loan thing. You don't want that holding you back that whole time. And so it's like if I wanted something that if we decide tomorrow that this isn't working, that we could walk away, and maybe it's a couple $100 because we have to pay a light bill or whatever, but we could walk away.
Not be so tied in, like have to cut all that and like
figure out. And I think I learned that when we started doing that, I was like, okay, we're gonna do this. It was shedding my past life, like liquidating. I got in a car accident with my car, and it was already paid off, but it was an expensive car, and then taking that cash, and my parents had an extra car, and I went from driving this nice car to this car. I'm like, you know what, I'll put a few tires on it, whatever. So and I kept that money.
Yeah.
You know, when we did the stores, like I pulled all this designer stuff that I had, and I'm like, this will make us look cool.
Yeah.
This will make, you know, I didn't let it go all at one time. It was like, I had to,
Yeah.
okay, we can put
Just
this
like
leather
breaking
jacket
it
in
out
here.
of your hands. Come on.
Still do that.
I still got a few pieces. They don't fit, but I'll.
We got a hoarder.
But the idea was just like, you know, that I think that particular part of the stress that puts a nail in the coffin for a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
And I think people get lost in that.
I feel like they have to like either pull out
Pull
now
out.
or
Yeah.
because you're betting like everything on it.
Everything, yeah. And if you're starting, remember you're just starting. You know, like Starbucks had a beginning, and they were a small little coffee shop
Over in Seattle.
in Seattle, yeah, and they weren't this cookie cutter beast that they are now. But people think that when they start a business, that their brand has to be on point, and so they spend a lot of cash up front,
Yeah.
and there's not necessarily a return in that if you don't necessarily have the following.
Yeah.
So that's a high risk to me, and low return.
Yeah.
You know, so
some of the coolest things was gaining the amount of volunteers that we did to help us build this place. It like became a true community involved thing, you know. And so all these people are coming from all over the place, as far as Waco and Waxahachie, you name it, dude, just to help.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to help. They heard about a cool project, or heard about something cool, and it was really interesting to see the growth of that.
Yeah.
And then the impact of us on them, and the impact that we're helping when it comes to like anybody who needed anything, we would have it. Everything except for money, right?
Right.
Clothes or housewares or baby stuff or food, you know, it was available. So to me, it's like we're inspiring a shit ton of people.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people helping build this. We're repurposing everything that we're getting.
Yeah.
So we're not spending money on junk, you know, like a big corporation would throw money at building a kitchen, fixing this
Getting
up.
all brand new tables and things
Yes.
like that are the exact specifications.
Right,
that they're looking
cookie
for,
cutter
you know?
stuff.
Yeah.
We're like absolutely the opposite of that, and to me that was the exciting part of it. It's
Yeah.
like building a thrift store when you don't have to throw money at it. Building a thrift store when you got 50 volunteers in a week sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, hundreds in totality. It was just really inspiring. So like, even though it was a struggle, like a lot of the time it felt like, it was also the most rewarding struggle that I think I've been through, you know, other than like Key West and New Orleans, those kind of things. I felt like this is the ultimate struggle, because it's like being poor now and not having the money that we used to have. To me, like it's interesting.
Yeah.
Because we don't have that, but we have like this following and support and love, you know what I mean? Like you can feel the love from the people, and not only that, but when you're helping people and cleaning up the environment, it gives you a purpose, or a sense of ownership.
Gives you something, like it kind of like drives you, you know.
It does,
Yeah.
and it's almost like it ignites more fire under you to do even better and not give up. Even as,
And like seeing it in like the other people's faces, like you're also helping them, like even though they're coming to volunteer, like they get something out of it too. You know?
And that's the thing. Some people would just come back every week. Some people, you know, they're like, I painted wall today and I don't like painting, so then they think they're going to be painting next week, and so they don't come back. It's just a nonprofit world. It's just what, you know, one thing we've learned. Not to take it personal. It's just some people like helping the homeless. Some people like cleaning up the environment. Some people like helping us build. Some people like helping us prep food. So trying not to take it personal, but it's been interesting to grow it from nothing to where we are now.
Yeah.
You know.
And we've had some humbling moments. I mean, you know, when we dove into the thrift store, and you know, all of a sudden, like I've talked Ryan into committing to this thing.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, there were times where, you know, my old life was haunting. I was so trying to hustle the dollar and trying to, I'm like, I've got to pay a bill.
Yeah.
And so the bills are this, then I need this much a day. And so it's good to have that mapped out, so you know.
You should have a general outline at least.
Yeah. And then one day I you know, we didn't have enough money to pay the electric bill, and it was going to be cut off that day. So I remember getting there, and Ryan's still at work. And so I get there, and I'm like, oh, it's still on. So I'm like, sweet, one more day of sales, you know. And these two ladies came in. I actually posted something on Marketplace to have them come pick up. And so they were coming to pick up, and they were like, this is a great place. So I was telling them about the mission, and the lights go out. So I'm like, and so there goes the Wi-Fi. So there goes me being able to ring them up, you know. And so, you know, immediately, I guess my old life was like, I would have had every excuse to like, what an embarrassing moment. I've got to make sure they have this cold. and I just literally just word vomit. I was like, sorry, we're a nonprofit, we've been struggling, and we couldn't pay the bill. And they were like, well, what do you need? And so they walked around and picked out a few things, gave me the money, and I like went out, got my phone line on and put it, transferred it, did the call, and then it was done.
Yeah.
And so they're like, we're gonna go get lunch. So they got lunch and came back, and then the lights came back on and they cheered.
Yeah.
And it felt like it was like life ending, like a complete failure.
When those lights turned
talk
off.
about, yeah. and then it's embarrassing. It's like I could have been by myself.
Yeah.
But really I have these people in here, so it was that moment of like, but what I learned from that was like that humility part. If I was open and honest with them, and it ended up working out. And when I didn't worry, and I was myself and told them about our mission, and it's like I had that epiphany that day. I was like, Ryan, I've been going about it the wrong way. I was like, I just need to post on Facebook. And I just need to get one person in. That's my goal each day. Then I'll go build, but to get one person in to tell them what we're about.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then if we get money out of it, hey. If we don't, we don't. Maybe they'll bring us some stuff, but
maybe they'll tell somebody about it that will come in.
Yeah, and it's like you can't have just one expectation. If I do this, I get this.
Yeah.
No, if I do these things, anything can happen.
Yeah.
And then it all can be flipped and used for something else. And I don't know. I guess growing up, it's like if you bless others, you'll be blessed.
Yeah.
And if you learn to bless others, you can receive blessings.
Yeah.
So at that moment of my breakdown, I had to be able to speak my truth.
Yeah.
And be able to receive the help. And that's where every time I've ever gotten in trouble is because I didn't open to receive the help.
Yeah.
And that's a big struggle. We're working in a nonprofit. We want to help other people, but that ask, it's
We've never
super
been good
hard.
at asking. I don't like asking for help. I mean, like saying, "Hey, bro, you want to come volunteer?" That's different to me because it's a like fun thing, or like I'm hoping you're gonna show up. But when it comes to asking for donations, sometimes it's been a challenge. I've never been an asker too.
Yeah.
So when you start a business like this, especially a nonprofit, you have to learn to ask.
Yeah.
And some people have told us that, like, hey, you don't know how to ask. You gotta learn how to ask. How did you ask your friends at so company? And I'm like, well, I just started talking about the mission.
Yeah.
And then people wanted to just give. I wasn't asking. And they're like, so that's how you do it. You start talking about the mission, but also when it comes time for desperate times, call for desperate measures, you ask in a way that puts your mission out there.
Yeah.
Say, you can help us develop this. You can help us grow by donating. So we've had to learn that, and we still struggle with it. I'm getting better at it every day.
Kind of like letting go and like letting things kind of work out, but put in as much effort as you can.
Letting go of like kind of being I don't know what the word is, but you're proud. It's a certain pride about you. You don't want to ask, but at the same time, how are you going to survive if you don't ask? And how are you going to teach if you don't give the opportunity to teach to someone else?
If you don't learn too.
If you don't learn yourself.
Yeah.
So that's just
I think it's the personal tie too. It's everything that we've done.
It's yours.
We personally made those choices, and we post. It's like our personal dreams. So to ask if I was talking for another nonprofit and I knew that they were doing something, I would go out and raise money and help them.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it felt
like almost not real that it's yours. Kind of deal.
Or maybe it's too close to home. I guess it sounds like even though I'm asking for this is our business, and I'm asking you to help me with my. So it's that my piece of it. When overall our nonprofit, yes, we did this together, but the nonprofit is not ours. It's the community's.
Yeah.
So it's making sure I keep that in mind.
Asking for you.
So
we're not opening a bar, you know what I mean? Just a bar to open up, but we're not opening a Quickie Mart, just to open a Quickie Mart. We're opening a place that we want to help a lot of people.
Yeah.
We want to make a big impact on the planet from one place. We want to teach classes and do all kinds of cool stuff. So that's where we gotta get our minds. It's not a Quickie Mart. It's not a, you know what I'm saying? It's a small business like that. This is a nonprofit, community-built organization, and that is the purpose, and that is what we are driven by. We believe that God's guided us through all of these struggles, and here we are now. But it's all happened for a reason, and the reason is to make a positive impact, so we can leave some kind of legacy. If you ever die tomorrow, I want people to think that I did a good job of trying, at least. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, that's awesome, dude. So you feel like you can kind of rest a little bit easier. You're doing the right thing.
Doing the right
thing. Which I think so too, for sure. So
it feels right.
Yeah, we're all gonna struggle. We're all gonna have heartache. We're gonna have pain. We're gonna be broke. But you get to choose the pieces that's going to make you happy.
Yeah.
You get to choose who's going to be in your life. You can choose, you know, what you want to study and how you want to study and the things that you want to pick up on. Why not make more of those choices?
Yeah.
Because the struggle, it may or may not change, but struggle will always be there.
Yeah.
You know,
Don't let a situation like tell you what you're gonna have to do. Still do what you want to do or what's right, you know, rather than take the easy way out and like say like if y'all just like quit the business at like the first thing and then both of y'all just went back to these different companies, you know.
we'll still be unhappy, but in a different way.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's like, and I think our hardest times, I was just like, I'm not going back.
Yeah.
I'm not going back. And I think my biggest thing was I couldn't see myself doing anything else.
Mhm.
You know, that I always have a plan for a plan.
Yeah.
And a backup plan, and this was my plan.
Yeah.
And it may not go in the route that I wanted,
Mhm.
but I'm not.
You're gonna make this work.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere.
Mhm.
You know, and now I know how to be poor. I know how to live off of nothing.
Yeah.
So I felt like I didn't have anything to lose but my happiness.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that's hard to cash
You
in.
don't want to sell that.
And I don't want to sell that. That's all I got.
Mhm.
You know, if I need clothes, I take it from the thrift store.
Yeah.
If that goes away, it's like that didn't really make me happy.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I guess I'm a fighter for that. There's certain things you fight for your family. You fight. We got to choose.
Mhm.
Like this piece, no matter what.
Yeah.
You know, and people sacrifice that to take jobs, and the jobs own them.
Yeah.
I don't know how many musicians I know, or singers, or dancers, or whatever it is, and everything tells them that they can't do it. But it's like, it doesn't matter if you need to go to a community theater and do those things. Like, keep that in your life. It doesn't need to go away. It just
Yeah.
may look different than you expect.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
when you accept that is when the others happen.
Yeah, don't think of it as something that's gonna be your job forever. You know?
Right.
Like, don't go into it thinking like you're gonna make it to Broadway or anything like that. Or like, don't go into it like thinking you're gonna be like a professional soccer player, like we were talking about earlier. Like, be that guy that goes out on the weekends and plays in the little pickup games and has a great time still. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's where people tie that into whenever they're trying to start a business. I think that was probably the only struggle in this guiding this was you see all the examples and everything that you look at, and maybe you look at your cash flow, but you have to remember, like, you know, I guess me going to New York, I saw tons of different small businesses. There are no rules,
Yeah.
you know, except for like health code and all, you know, that
Right,
particular
yeah.
stuff. But if I want to have shirts and tea in my in a shop, and that's what I want to do,
Yeah.
like, why
you,
not?
You could be like the button and cappuccino shop, you
Right?
know, like you can do whatever you want. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I went to New York and I saw one guy had he made hats. That was just his thing. He went to design school, but his thing was hats, and he had all these like cool hats. It was a small little shop, coolest hats you could see, but it was just hats,
Yeah.
right? But it made him happy. He made it work.
Mhm.
He didn't need an extravagant store. It was all about the hats. So it was just a white space, and I think he's still there. And then he started customizing and stuff, but you just got to figure out what you love and just do it well, and then the rest is,
Mhm.
you know.
And if it takes you somewhere, it takes you somewhere. But you know,
Yeah.
you put some passion into something, man. That's something I think like not a lot of people get or like see an opportunity to do, or maybe just don't take the opportunity.
Yeah.
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 Or they're doing it and expecting, if I do this because I love it,
Mhm.
I'm gonna make billions.
It's gonna immediately pay off.
And if I don't make that, then I failed.
Mhm.
But that's not how
Back
it works.
to the grind.
Yeah, it's a lottery. It's just like surfing. You know, you go out there, and the whole title of it's like you got to catch the wave, and sometimes you miss it. You miss it for hours. You may get it back to back. You know what I'm saying?
It
Like,
might never be a wave.
or might never be a wave, or you just
Especially in Key West.
right, never a wave.
Never fucking wave.
You know, but the idea is like you still go out there because you love it.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah. So go out there every day, whether just like you were saying, like you can get one person into the store, but like I'm sure there were days where just nobody could come in.
Yeah, no one would come in, but you know, I'd paint a wall, do something, achieve something, but you know, that's what I told Ryan. I was like, I was not a Facebooker. It was like, I was like, I'm gonna have to tackle this beast because I either spend the time and learn it, or I go pay someone, and I'm like, I ain't got the money.
Yeah, I can't do that.
I can't do that, so
that's kind of right.
you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, that's tough. Everybody's
Yeah.
saying, you gotta get back on Facebook. You started it a long time ago. Wait, and I'm like, hello? Juggling like a circus clown. How the
Yeah.
fuck am I supposed to get, spend some time?
That stuff actually takes a little bit of time too.
Yeah,
it does.
especially if you're gonna
It
get
is
good
not
at it.
easy.
No.
The same thing, you need to get Awareness Project back on Facebook and start, and I said, okay. So then it became a goal of ours to have help with it. You know, there's a lot
Nice,
of people
yeah.
that volunteer in different places, but it's nice to have the help. And
Yeah.
put
we
your money
still-
where your mouth is.
But we still need to release some things. Well, one thing we're learning as as time goes on, is not to have control of everything, and you know what I mean. Like I like it.
You guys don't have to like white knuckle everything over
Right.
here and like figure everything out yourself.
No,
Yeah.
but you know, being in such a personal and you know,
This is your
personal
baby.
personal business. It's like, you know, when it comes to the kitchen, I'm very particular about the way I like things. When it comes to retail, Stanley knows what works best, and he's particular about that. We're open to alternatives, of course, but there's certain things that kind of just irk me. No, I'm not letting them mess with the website. No, I'm not letting them work in the kitchen.
Yeah, I have to make sure that the message is correct, and I have to make sure that everything like they're set up correct and all that. But
but once you find that person, then you know, okay, that person might
They're
be
gonna
one,
do it
and
right.
you start to like feel a little bit of a release because that project or that job is now moved on to somebody else. So but
that's
that's
have to find the right person for the job.
Yeah.
First.
That's
Well, it's
the tricky
hard too.
part.
You put that trust into someone, and then all of a sudden life happens, and they're too busy, and they disappear.
Yeah.
So you've taken all that time, and you finally let go,
Mhm.
and then
Now you got to jump back in. And grab the reins.
and grab the reins while it's in the middle of everything, and so you're trying to figure it out. So it created more work,
Yeah.
and that then all of a sudden our website's not even up, and it's just really hard, having that volunteer base, and not having like a cash flow to be like, oh.
Yeah, because it's not like a designated like this is your job. Like we pay you to do this. It's like, can you like help us? with this?
And let us know realistically
And, like, when you can.
Yeah.
It's
We're
hard.
working more to get like real with this place. It'll be a lot more organized. We're gonna have a volunteer schedule again, like we used to. We'll have regular positions that are filled. We hope to have senior corps helping us, so that'll be some seniors that are retired. So they'll have positions in the food pantry and stuff. So the goal is to get as organized as possible, so that it does take a load off of us, because it has worn us out. It is. It's
like,
a
I know
heavy-
you could do it yourself, but like.
But it's a
wanna
time to let
continue
go. You know what I mean? And this is the new us. This place, this
Yeah.
phase of our
Starting to learn like work smarter.
work smarter and not harder anymore. But at the same time, know how to do everything and to do everything right and to do everything well. But the goal is always never to lose the mission, and it's to impact as many people as possible, to teach and encourage and to raise awareness about this and that and this and that. And a lot of important things. So I think that we keep that focus, keep that drive, then it seems like the more good you do, more good things come your way. I believe in that. I truly believe in that. Although sometimes it seems like, why does all these good things happen to jerk face over here? Or jerk, you know what I mean? Or,
when you're in like the low spot of
right,
it,
and when when you're struggling the most, whether it be financially or mentally or just exhaustion. It's like, how can this billionaire, get everything he wants all the time?
And they don't even pay taxes.
And they don't pay taxes, or you get impeached twice, and then suddenly you're just still holding that job. And it's like, but you're over here struggling, and you're doing the right thing, and people are telling you, you're inspiring them, but at the same time you're still struggling. So it's like, when he gets the break? But it's not my time. And I think it's one thing that we've had to realize is not our time. We have a nice plan for things, but it doesn't always work according to that plan.
And also like learning like the payoff isn't always what you think it's going to be too.
Super true, dude. Super true.
Like it might not be like a monetary thing. It might be so like you just impacted somebody that day, and then like they come back and like tell you or something like that, and like it just really makes you feel good. Like I've had a couple of those, and like it makes it so worth it.
It does. That changed everything, and I started to get over the monetary thing, a little while back. But I think that the material thing, I've kind of lost that chasing it. I think you did before I did. He said I had PTSD after losing the job and the finances and the savings and all that. I was kind of struggling with that, but as time moves on, it's humbling and healing to a certain degree. So now I have less worry about that stuff, because I know God provides, but on the other hand, it's still a struggle. We still created this society that involves bills and consumerism, and the things.
We're still in this.
We're not on a farm creating our own stuff. And producing, so here we are. We still need to do what they tell us to do. So that's the challenge with this. But the goal is to get to the sustainable point here and keep it sustainable, and one day pay ourselves again. The goal is just to bring as many people on board that have passions about these things as we do, and it feels like our network is growing when it comes to people like us. You attract those people. Like-minded people attract like-minded people with passions similar, and just as corrupt individuals attract the corruption, the good people attract the good people, and we've seen it. And I think that's just That's what I've learned, at least.
Yeah, and the community really does like help.
Yeah.
Yeah, because whenever you get into those hard times, like you can talk to somebody that's been also through it, or like in a different way, and like it just kind of helps, like just realizing that you're not the only person like trying to do something right, and like whether you're failing or not, like you still put the effort in, and then whenever you see other people doing that, it just helps a lot.
It does. It reassures you you're not alone in the struggle. And there's a lot of people in way worse predicaments, when it comes to finances and poverty, and that's kind of what we're talking about. Whether it be in Mexico or in South Africa or India, where you
or even down the street.
Or even down the street. But I'm just saying that there's billions in the B that are struggling way worse than us, and so we really should count our blessings each and every day, and at the same time pass on the blessings to anybody else.
Use what you can for others.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So we're coming up on 30 minutes again over here, kind of killing it. Yeah.
Dang.
And I don't have to pee.
We'll see about that.
Keep drinking.
All right, so we kind of left off there. We went on like a little bit of a detour there, but that was good information that I feel like I needed to know. For
You're right, dude. You called it.
Nice. So, I think we can probably like hop in and just kind of do just kind of talk about like where we're at now and like what kind of your plans are, and then like I do want to see like if you have anywhere where like you can send people like a website and all that stuff, like definitely make sure we get that out there too. So.
Okay.
Okay, and we're back, and we've already done an hour and a half of recording, and we're coming up on 9 o'clock, so I want to let these guys get home, to their families and everything, and get back to work probably, I would imagine. Those guys don't sleep probably.
Not enough.
Yeah. But so, before we leave off, so you went from the place with no power, then you started the thrift store, and then you kind of worked there, and like it turned into the was the cafe, that was the place without the power at first, right?
Right. Yeah. So the first building that we had was the cafe, and that we were building a give back cafe, and when that didn't work out, our second space that we got was a thrift store.
Yeah.
And then from that thrift store, when we pressured him, that space never came about. And so negotiating, if you don't want to go into any kind of legality, we need to have some sort of kitchen. A space had opened up in the shopping center, a small little kitchen.
A Philippine restaurant. They've been there 22 years.
Yeah.
A friend of ours.
Yeah, and they donated everything. They're like, I'm done with the business. They donated everything for us to start.
Take over this space.
And so we ended up taking over
Did
a lot
you
of the
see
stuff.
that space?
I think, was that the
Oh yes,
spot
you
with
saw
the
it.
bookstore
We
and
met you
everything?
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's wild. Yeah.
Yeah, and that we started with a camping burner, like electric 2 burners,
Oh, nice.
2 coffee pots,
Cooking for people
cooking
on a
for
two burner. Stanley's calling out these orders, and I'm cooking on this damn little stove.
You got 2 skillets running.
Two
Yeah.
skillets, and they
Yeah.
would power off by accident because it would get so hot that it was rough.
Yeah.
But we're cooking for people, and we got rave reviews. We did Taco Tuesdays, open mic nights,
Nice.
all in that little location.
Mhm.
And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
Well, first we got the copper wires stolen.
What?
Yeah, so somebody got up there on the roof and took all the copper wires from the rooftop and ran all the way down across the building where the cafe is, our little cafe, and they stole the power.
Whoa.
Landlord came through on that one, believe it or not. He came
Nice.
through in about a month. He found somebody to repair it the right way, put the copper inside the roof instead of on top of it.
Yeah.
So we were powered up and started serving again. Food pantry going, everything was exciting.
And this is during COVID right now?
Nope, it was right before.
COVID.
Oh, really? Oh,
And
that
1
must
month
be-
before.
So literally opened a cafe, had to shut it down because it was the electricity.
Jeez,
We
yeah.
opened it back up
Had
to shut it down for COVID. Yeah. So
Never
we're really good at reopening things. So.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, rolling with the punches there. Yeah, like
And never to reopen again
Yeah.
because of COVID restrictions, and then just loss of business, and and then we just weren't generating.
No AC.
Yeah.
No AC. Yeah.
So did you guys pivot? Is that whenever you started working on the idea of like moving out to like a place like this? Is that how that came out?
It was a mishap. We were grabbing food for during COVID to feed people in need, and a friend of ours was like, "Hey, I've got some space where you can put this extra stuff," because we had a very small place.
Yeah.
And they brought us to it was a neighboring space, and we came in and brought in our stuff, and I was staring at it. I'm like, And I was like, Ryan, do you see this? He's like, what? Stop. No more changes.
Yes.
I'm like, no, but seriously. And then once we left the space, and so I asked the guy, I was like, what's going on with this space? And it's available. So, once we left, I'm like, Ryan, everything that we talked about, like, literally everything can fit in there. Our cafe can be back. It's already got a kitchen. Like, the thrift store can be small. We can have a community. So, like, it all fits. And as I put it on paper, he was like,
it makes sense.
Yeah, but he was just like, how's this going to happen? And I was like, well.
Yeah, it's 10,500 square feet. It's a big ass place. We don't have money.
And it wasn't built like this whenever you got it.
No, it was a big wide open box,
Wow, yeah.
4 walls. And, so we did a lot of work in here, but and then you found it kind of, and then our partner nonprofit, which is right next door, they're like, hey, we'll help you fill the back half, the community center, with events and things like that, and music lessons, and so it started.
What's this other nonprofit?
They're called Central Arts. Central Arts of Bedford. Yeah, so they're right next door, but they'll also help us fill the space and teach kids music, play instruments and art after school classes and things. So just a perfect partnership to help us fill the half, and then when as far as retail space, we got a lot of space for retail, obviously.
I think just this front part is as big as your other two places.
Something like that.
It actually is, yeah.
Yeah, is it?
So we shifted some things. So the other one had office spaces. So, but the retail is actually the same, but it just shifted. The cafe has more space,
nice.
And so all the office spaces that we took out kind of covered the extra seating.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
It's kind of an upgraded version.
In the back, yeah.
Well, not kind of. It's a real upgrade.
Yeah,
especially on the cafe side. We were working in a junky old kitchen, with grease in the pipes. The water wouldn't even go through the pipes. There was so much grease.
They probably had the same stuff for the whole 22 years.
Yeah, they did.
In there, yeah.
They did. In fact, most of the stuff they donated, was not even good to us. So we ended up having to literally. Wish we had known you because you would have had fun, but we were literally smashing deli cases and ovens because they didn't work, and you can't fit them out these tiny little doors.
Oh, nice.
So we had to smash them in pieces for scrappers to come get because we couldn't get them powered up. So, man, just a lot of work in that place. And so to me, I think I had a harder time leaving.
You hate it.
But just seeing and remembering all of the hands and the help and the floor. You saw the floor there and the things that we put all the effort into. Yeah, that kind of hurt me a little bit. I'm like, damn, I built the freaking plumbing in this, with my dad.
Yeah.
And patched the walls and painted the ceiling. I was thinking
a lot of sentimental value in there.
Yeah.
It did, but I felt like we had it was a bad relationship. We were in a toxic relationship with our landlord.
Yeah.
Right? What are we holding on to? Yes, we did all these things, but at the end of the day, we don't own it, so we're miserable in it.
And he laughed in our face and told us that a non-profit is non-profit. And,
resentful.
We didn't really want non-profits there, and we're stupid.
Yeah.
We didn't know the value of the place. So a lot of the things just kind of built up that say that you obviously don't care about your tenants, not just us, but the other ones in the same place. So it became an obvious necessity to get out of there.
Yeah.
And so these landlords are better. They're happier people. They care about our missions. So I think it's a better if you have a problem, they'll address it a little earlier. It might not be their responsibility, but they'll at least recognize. So we're in a better place, and obviously we're putting a lot of work and effort, and time, and energy into this one as well. But this is more of the long term. Yeah. This will be the flagship, I guess, if you will. And the goal is to have multiple of these. As a kind of a franchise opportunity for people to bring a really cool community center space into another community that might need it.
Yeah.
And now we have 2 models. So, now we have a small version, and this is the next size up. So, we called it franchising, but it's something that we want to look at finding different cities. So, let's say we talk to Haltom City and hey, we see that you have, X amount of people in this area are food insecure. This is what's happening. We also see that there's a building that is owned by the city, and it's not being used. So we have an opportunity for us to fill the space, and it's community driven. And
something that's not going to cost you anything.
It won't cost you anything, and as it generates revenue, this will help clean and fix the area. And bring people in because it's cool and eclectic, and it fits with what's going on now.
And brings them into a safe environment where they're learning things rather than whatever else they would be doing.
And it's another service for your city being provided, and it's just costing you an empty space that you weren't using. And if it has 2 stories, and we can convert some of those into something that's housing for the people that we're hiring into those places and creating an economy
Yeah.
for this area.
It's kind of the next piece is the housing piece. We want to do some housing opportunities for people because a lot of people need housing right now and they come to us for help with that. So we'll refer them out, you know, for.
Yeah, but you'd rather be able to.
We want to do it ourselves and help manage that so you can help them become acclimated back into society and hold responsible positions, you know, and be really proud of what they're doing. And I mean, we can.
And to be an example too, you have to. It sounds like a lot of grand ideas, but if you're showing that, it inspires people.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we talk about it like. We'll do something in the store or whatever, and someone will come in like that's really cool, and then we'll go to their thrift store and they kind of mimicked it.
Yeah.
You know, at first it kind of it's like that's right.
What are we doing?
But then I look and I'm like, wait, they upcycled. They actually thought about not wasting, and so that's what we're looking for.
That
And
used
that's
to
the
bother.
piece of
That
it.
used to bother.
Yeah, it used to bite me. I was like,
They
they don't know. I'm 10 steps ahead of you.
And then it started.
Just see what I do next.
Yeah, right.
And they start bothering me. And
I was like,
then
you're copying my
holy
old
shit,
ideas.
they really are copying us. Like the color scheme and upside, a lot of different things. No can't name people, but there's several around this area that we're kind of taking our ideas and come to fixtures and displays and color schemes and food and pantry, you name it. And but I think that I think you told me this after you got over it. You're like, oh, they're gonna steal
After
your
I
shit.
slashed your tires.
Yeah.
just kidding.
But yeah,
Allegedly, like
no, it wasn't you. I think it was like my mom that she was like, well, you know, you should take it as a compliment. They're taking your ideas and but I guess it bothers me when you don't give somebody credit. It's like stealing. It's like plagiarizing on a college paper. If you're not giving the credit where it's due in your bibliography, well, you're kind of stealing.
And bringing it back to help you guys get awareness too. You know,
Right.
So that would be what you would want from that.
Yeah, so that's obviously what you want, and that's ideal. But you know, and maybe somebody will steal shit from your book and rub you the wrong way, but it may inspire somebody too. So it's like, you know, you can't win them all.
Yeah, you take the good with the bad there, like the upcycling and stuff like that. Like that's better for the planet and everything. But I mean, still kind of, you know, your idea, like the way that they went about it.
It's not
is,
that
but-
upcycling in general, but it was certain things that were upcycling.
yeah.
Like,
Like
I want everybody to upcycle. I think it's
Yeah.
a great idea, but there was certain things they would do for their own benefit, or they had money.
Things that could help them cut costs and things like that, maybe.
Or more like if I built a store, all of a sudden they have this store. It may not look as great. It may not be. It's our flavor of it. You know what I mean? That's the only thing we have for our image and our branding, right?
Yeah.
But then at the end of the day,
the palette
looks.
that popped up everywhere all of a sudden.
Our accent
All of a
colors.
sudden,
Yeah.
bro.
Interesting.
You see it in all the local thrift stores now. It wasn't there 5 years ago.
That's so
You're like,
true.
oh, so
Even little cafes.
Hey man, I'm glad that wood's getting reused and
Yeah,
you
there
know,
you
stuff
go.
like that. I'm happy about that. But yeah, it would be nice to every once in a while say like, hey man, we got this great idea from the Awareness Project. We got this great idea from Ryan and Stanley. Like that would be awesome.
Yeah.
But then you got to tackle it
Yeah,
too.
happens
It's a
all.
small business, and I'm like, if that idea, whether they stole it or not, helps them stay afloat,
Yeah.
then I'd rather it be the small business doing that because you're a small business. You may not get the education,
Yeah.
and we're actually out there showing them it could be done. And we do have corporate backgrounds where I've pulled things from corporate and figured out how to do it, you know, with volunteers.
Yeah.
So they're
So
learning
you're
from
already
that.
reworking it, and then they're kind of like taking it as well.
Yeah, so it's a good thing.
Yeah.
You
But
know?
if you were to see that like popping up in like Starbucks, might be a little.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. It is. Yeah.
You know, just kidding.
Except they're buying their product, you know. They may not be
okay.
upcycling. They're not doing it with volunteer power, but you know what I mean. It's happening, so
Yeah.
we can do. That's good.
You need to calm down. Starbucks isn't looking at us. Don't get gas.
Maybe after this podcast, they'll
That's
Right.
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
listening
Don't
to
get
this.
sued. Don't get sued.
Yeah, so I mean,
But maybe they'd come in and like sponsor you guys. That'd be something.
That'd be cool.
yeah, we do. We want to gain some. In the beginning, I think we were anti-big sponsorships, you know, and now I think we're able to accept help where we get it,
Yeah.
as long as we still can maintain control of our plans and
Yeah.
our businesses, because you know, a lot of people dictate how they want their money to be spent. So we don't want to take anybody's money that has contingencies on
Yeah.
how we know our business operates and how we know our community, the needs of it. So yeah, if you know anybody with big money, just let them know they're not going to control us.
There you
know
go.
what I'm
That's
saying?
what I'm talking about. It's on record now.
Right, it's
Can't
on-
control
Can't
it.
control it.
Yeah, be aware,
We,
bro.
yeah. We still know, bro. Yeah. So that's kind of it, man. I think that this place is obviously what you see. That you got your cafe to help people in need, food insecure families. You have our thrift store, which provides resources to families, most likely single women and those that are incarcerated, veterans. Try to help people get back on their feet, furnish their houses or apartments, whatever it is. And then we have baby items for any moms that might need anything, as you guys already know. Really kind of any resources they may need. We'll help them with a career, finding jobs again, resume building.
And that's just through your community that you build here.
Yeah, that's through the community and through just our own background and experiences and the people that help us build this. We call it the Fresh Start program.
Nice.
So Fresh Start really kind of gives people a fresh start after they've been incarcerated or homeless or maybe just haven't been working for a while. So we have a really awesome team that helps us do that. So help train people to get in these fields, help them create a resume for the right job interview, give you the complete attire that you might need for the interview at no cost, so you can keep that money in your pocket and pay a bill or buy some food or whatever it is.
Waiting for that paycheck to come.
And then we have the cafe, which will become the healthy area here, because there's nothing really in this area that's vegan. So the goal is to be the only vegan area one in the area, to provide the most nutritious food for people that can afford it, but at the same time it's a pay it forward concept. So your meal helps provide a meal for someone behind you that cannot afford it, and then at the same time it will double as a cooking class, a location for seniors that might get fresh produce for their dietary needs, and teach them how to cook it and utilize those veggies. So,
and the core of our Fresh Start program is like, I think people think that being in need looks like one thing. It's not just about being homeless. It's a spectrum, and we're all living paycheck to paycheck. So it could be those 2 checks that you miss that could change everything.
So you got sick, or you caught COVID and you had to sit out for 2 weeks.
That's right. That's right. And we see it happen. We hear it all the time, and it's just terrible. But
so the idea is that you can be homeless, or you could be a teacher, and it comes around August and you're buying school supplies for your students and you're strapped already because you're not getting paid what you deserve. But here's an opportunity for you to come to this cafe if you want to volunteer. We can get you on our food program. So the fact is that you need to be able to give blessings to receive blessings. So if you don't come in and volunteer, then you have to figure that out so we can help you out. But it's no questions asked at the beginning. If you're hungry, we'll feed you today. But the idea is to, we don't have cash to give you, but if we can fill in those gaps, if it's clothes that you need, interview, getting that better job,
a meal you didn't have to buy.
A meal you don't have to buy, and then you can put that money into your gas tank or pay that light bill that you need. But the idea is to help you build and get out of where you're at. And if you want to get that better job or that job you're looking for, we can help you with that resume and help you build on that. So the idea is that there's not one solution to it. So
everybody's got different things.
So that's why we have the source of, you need to feel better from the inside out. So if you need clothes for that interview, we'll help you with that. If you that healthy food that's going to have, instead of Doritos and Coke, that's not going to sustain you, we'll have those options
all the time for some reason.
Or if you need new friends who want to give back, or if you want to learn how to give back, this is what we consider an idea of a new community center, a new way of it.
This is the new why over here.
There's making giving or philanthropic work cool again. You know what I mean? It's kind of
showing like that it's other people's mission too. Like there's other people thinking about it. Because if you're just sitting at home and you're like, well, I've been eating organic forever, and like nobody else is doing it and all this stuff. Like if you find out there's other people that are putting in the work too, like that helps a lot.
It does. It helps you grow your mission, and not only that, but obviously when you come together to solve stuff, you solve stuff better than if you're flying solo. Flying solo is great because you can do a lot, but when you have a team and a loving community that's surrounding you, you can do a lot of stuff.
You can see a bigger impact.
You can see it, and then they spread it, and they spread it, and they spread it. And next thing you know, it's spreading like wildfire, and people are aware out of nowhere. And then moving to the back half of this building, you got the community center, and that's going to be a really nice place. People can reserve it for whatever functions they might need, a grad party, or we have church service on Sunday. A lot of cool stuff is going to happen back there. Film screenings for climate movies.
I'm going to definitely look into using it maybe for the podcast too.
Dude, and that's why we're saying that.
Come in,
Yeah, we'd love to have you, and that's what that place is going to be. That's what this place is going to be. And then if you did ever want to book a party, we'll have food options for you too, because we're in-house food right here, so the healthiest stuff. And and then there's gonna be a music room back there. There's gonna be all kinds of cool stuff in this place. So we're almost there. We got, hang tight. It's not that much far.
Yeah, you got a couple of like things hung up right now, I think, right? And then it's just some more work over here.
Yeah, we're waiting on some plumbers to help us finish, and then some city permits that are holding us up. But and I guess that's it's a funding thing too. Run into all these hurdles that cost money, and it's not volunteer power that can get you out of that.
You actually have to like dump some money into parts of it.
Yeah, so that's been a struggle, but it's we see the light at the end of the tunnel now, and I think that having the plumbers in here today, and the front half is looking good, the back half is scary as shit. But
it looks good. Like it looks good for where it's at right now. Like you can see like the parts that you guys are starting to put in now. It is a big jumbled mess right now, but you can see the ideas kind of coming.
Some people can see it, dude. Like you can see it, Kristen can see it, but a lot of people are like, I don't know
what the heck
what's going on. You're like, you just don't have the vision, like so you just know who sees it, who doesn't.
Yeah.
We've been touring a lot of people.
What kind of work are we gonna be doing?
They made me paint again.
Yeah, so that's kind of what this place will be, and then the very back is the food pantry, so people can come in discreetly and grab whatever kind of food they need.
Yeah, but you have like the back dock back there.
Yeah, that's what the back dock is, but it will do a different kind of food pantry too. So a lot of regular food pantries kind of give you what they give you. We'll cater to more of the dietary needs and the healthy stuff.
Yeah.
So the goal is not to get donuts and a lot of canned goods, but it's to get more of the fresh produce and the healthy meals, some hot meals for seniors and veterans that can't cook for themselves. So it'll be different. If you have diabetes, we'll help you with your dietary needs. So you make sure that you're getting what you need and it's not getting wasted.
Yeah.
Right. So, and then we also rescue food from other
zero waste concept.
Zero waste concept. So nothing we use is unenvironmentally friendly. So it's going to be most sustainable products, compostable, no plastic, no styrofoam. As closest to zero waste as far as the food is consumed as possible. So veggie broth out of the stalks and things like that, turning that stuff into something very purposeful, and then also repurposing from other restaurants that want to get on our food rescue project, which is another program we have here, and farmers markets that donate the lesser quality, if you will, and we'll turn that into meals for people as well. So that food's not being dumped and wasted. So the goal is to reduce our community carbon footprint from this one location as much as possible in as short of amount of time as possible.
And it kind of shows like that it is possible.
Yeah,
because if you own like a small business and like you see like maybe you'd like to do it, but you just see like all the effort or maybe the money that you're gonna have to put into it, and you're just like, well, I can't afford it, I don't have the time or anything like that. Like this is showing like that there is actually a way to do it.
That's right.
Yeah,
and it's a smart, if you're trying to figure it out, like it's also a smart marketing tool. If you're a business, you don't have to be a nonprofit. But if you decide that you're not going to have any waste and you have certain days, that's how we started. There are certain days that we knew it was kind of like the end of the run for the food, but we don't want to throw it away. Then we prepare meals. We had families that we could contact that would come pick up and meals would be already prepared.
Yeah.
And so it didn't cost us anything. We already had that food. It was going to go to waste.
They were just going to throw it out.
Yeah, but it bought us everything because they had a healthy meal to eat.
Yeah.
So
we had a vendor last week. She's opening her own place around the corner, like a smoothie shop or something, and she's like, what advice do you have for me to open my own place? And I said, well, number one, if you're doing smoothies and stuff, watch what you're dispensing your products into, because you're sending, it's not one cup that you're using, you're sending out probably potentially hundreds to thousands of cups into the environment, into other people's homes where they may not be as cognizant as you are about recycling or care as much. So start considering that. We saw her last week and she said that she's invested in some compostable products. It's like sugar based. So she was already thinking about it, and she was like, I went to bed that night thinking about how many people I can impact by just serving smoothies in the right kind of cups.
Just that one facet of the business.
And so, like to piggyback on what you're saying, small businesses are becoming aware of the need to do that, to transition and to find alternatives. But if you offer a discount to somebody that brings their cup again for their coffee, or brings their salsa bottle again for their salsa, not only is it saving you money and saving them money, but it's saving the environment. That shit's not ending up in the landfill. So it's just common sense kind of practices that they used to use before we were born. And it's not new concepts, it's just bringing it back to life.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Yeah, stuff that's basically kind of forgot about. That's what's weird about it. Like there's just such an easy way to do it now, or like I guess more convenient, we'll call it. But,
throwaway society.
yeah.
Yeah, well, we got to get over that because it's not, I have to take care of.
Yeah, and hopefully we can get some more people on this train, man.
Yeah, and thanks to this kind of thing, we will.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So before we go, I do want to know, so just any way for anybody to contact you, or like how they can get here, you know, like what they can do to help you guys.
Well, you can start off by going to our website, which is www.theawarenessprojectdfw.org. There, if you want to find our resources, if you want to volunteer, if you want to donate, all those options are on there. And then when we accept donations of clothing and furniture and those kind of things, it'll kind of give you a description of what the kind of things that we're looking for, the needs. If giving is a little struggle and you're pinching your belt, your money belt, then there's also an option where you can go to our thrift store website. All that you purchase from there, it's been donated goods, but it goes into our project as well. So if you want to support us in that way, at least you'll get something out of it, and then it's helping someone in return. Which the thrift store is www.dapperinc.store.
Nice, I love that name.
Right, Dapper, you're right. Because I'm Daps, Brent.
That's what I'm talking about.
And then coming soon, I do want you to check out the Dapper Cafe, which is www.dappercafe.store. Our healthy options will be coming soon. Our menu will be coming soon. Our open mic nights and events will be on there.
Yeah.
And also, hopefully we'll be having delivery soon too. So if you need to stay home and you don't want to be out in public, there's still a way for you to give back and eat healthy. So
there you go.
We're still doing the Facebook and Instagram thing, which posts our events, community events. So we're always looking for volunteers here and around. You know, as soon as we get launched again, we'll be doing more environmental cleanups again and homeless services, which are regular things. So whether you want to help here and build a serve or whatever from this location, we also have outside opportunities for you to make a difference in the community too. Yeah. So and you can find all of those links on the website as well, the awareness project, dfw.org.
Yeah,
but that'll link to all of the other pages too from there. So that's kind of the best bet there.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things we do is our events that Ryan was mentioning. It is every third Saturday. So it's kind of a way for us to support small businesses. So we have booths and vendors, and there is a vendor fee, but that fee is a donation directly to the nonprofit.
Yeah, and it's not very much.
Yeah. So, and the idea is that, you know, if we're getting everyone together as a community, but we can also support everyone. Having a mini market will help everyone grow their own personal businesses.
Yeah.
But we're showing that there's a way to be able to give back and work towards your personal goals as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And that's one thing, like I'm going to be doing the one on the 21st.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of given me, like I had no idea like how to even like break into like where am I going to go to like sell my stuff, you know, and like that just gives me a spot to do it. Yeah. And a place where the money's going to a good place, and like this is a good company and everything, so it's like absolutely perfect. So
yeah, we're happy to have you, man. And tell your friends too, because they sell all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah,
a lot of cool stuff out there. A lot of eco products and handmade artisan crafts and really good
jams,
food,
jellies,
produce,
like
jewelry,
grandma made it,
right?
Yeah, so it'll be really cool. That's the 21st, and then every third Saturday moving forward.
Nice.
Open or not.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, cool. Yeah. Alrighty, well, I think we've officially done it, guys.
Thanks, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Thank you guys, man. This is awesome. Alrighty, signing off. You guys check out the Awareness Project. That's theawarenessproject.com.
DFW.org.
Yes, the Awareness Project, DFW.org.
Got it.
Yeah, go check that out. That'll take you anywhere you want to go to help these guys out and to, you know, do the right thing, basically, in my opinion. So,
Thanks, man.
Absolutely. Okay, we're back.
I gotta pee so bad.
Yeah. I was like dying.
We're gonna watch this podcast, and it's gonna be our pee breaks.
Yes, right.
And then